strange. Times are strange. Nothing seems the same. I'm not sure who to blame. Boy, these times are strange. People everywhere, they're quite confused. Not even sure which bathroom to use. Seems like we may go down in flames. 'Cause brother, these times are strange.
There's a man we trust through the storms and the rains. They say votes were counted in the dead of night, but we stand tall, we know our rights. With God on our side and truth in our hearts, we stand by the man who played his part. Trump is my president, true and bold. A story of a leader that's often told. Though the times are rough and the nights are long, in our hearts we know he belongs. They talk of fraud, votes unseen. In the land of liberty, we chase the dream. Through the trials and the times we face, for the man who never left our embrace. With God on our side and justice our guide, we hold to the truth and never divide. Trump is my president, true and bold. A story of a leader that's often told. Though the times are rough and the nights are long, in our hearts we know he belongs. From the small town squares to the city lights, we hold our banners high through the darkest nights. With hope,
I love this land from sea to shining sea. It's America, the home of the brave, land of the free. They say we're divided, but we all stand tall. I'm casting my vote. Hear freedom call.
I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. President Trump. Under Joe Biden, we've been singing the wrong song. My people have suffered, it's been way too long. It's time for a change, we're breaking free from the chains of their false history. We've got a voice and we're making it known. This is our America, we're taking it home. They promised us hope, but delivered despair. Under Democrats, it's been unfair. We're saving America with freedom in our hands. No more division, united we stand. Americans standing tall with pride. With Trump we ride side by side. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon.
Well, friends, this is Macil Duncan, and welcome to the Macil Duncan Show. And we're excited to be here, and I hope you guys are having a good day. It is a typical afternoon here in Appleton Baptist, Tennessee. But as we're getting ready to rock and roll, got a lot of news items to cover, some things that you've probably heard about. One being the Trump and Elon Musk talk last night. Went 2 hours, and they garnered over 70 million viewers while they were live. And since the replays, they're well over 100 million views. They're projecting this could be one of the largest interviews of all time. So it's going to be interesting. Also, on Newsmax, they're reporting that Elon Musk has issued an opportunity for Kamala Harris. He said he'd be glad to do a conversation with her as well. We'll see if she bites. Interesting stuff, though, my friend. But the media's kind of going crazy over this. I don't know if you've heard something similar to this minutia. Elon Musk set to interview Donald Trump as
Musk's rise as a Trump backer comes as X has turned into a haven for the spread of misinformation. Since buying the site almost 2 years ago, Musk's site has struggled to control it on topics ranging from the election to the assassination attempt against Trump. Sometimes the bad information has been boosted by Musk himself, who posted a conspiracy regarding the attack on Paul Pelosi in October of 2022.
I don't understand.
So here's the deal. If you guys just take back a trip down memory lane, can I walk you? Hold my hand and let me walk you back a few months back. When Elon Musk took over Twitter, do you remember the big battle? And as he thought he closed the deal, he almost had to. He backed out twice, or he tried to, because they kept changing the rules. Jack Dorsey even admitted that they had ties with federal government at times, helping create the narrative. It wasn't until Elon Musk was hired he found out how deep it was. Do you remember all those employees that said they weren't going to work as if they thought they were going to tell boss what to do, and he went ahead and fired them. Some of them got mad when he said you could no longer work from home, you had to come in. The other thing, this one lady did a complete walk through Twitter. You ought to go find it on the internet. But she talked about how they had cry rooms. I kid you not. While on the clock, if you were disturbed about something, you could go and cry. They had pillows in these rooms, and you could go cry on the clock, my friends, because someone hurt your feelings. This is at Twitter. They had a wine sampling bar. They had their cafeteria wasn't like our cafeteria, my friend, that I've ever seen. My point is, they were being subsidized by our government. And the thing that he brought out, Mr. Elon Musk, is that the Homeland Security, FBI, and the CIA would have regular meetings with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., all the social media giants. And it was a weekly meeting, and they were kind of told what to fact check and what to allow through. Also, people were categorized, such as Mwabi, that they're a patriot. And they tried to label us with things. Like one of the labels they're trying to do now is a white nationalist, as if that's supposed to. I'm white. I can't help that. I can't change my pigmentation. And I love America. So they're trying to make it sound like a white nationalist is a bad thing. Back in the day when they had that, it would have worked. But now that Twitter is now owned by someone who advocates for free speech, they don't like that. One of the things that Elon Musk did was he reinstated Alex Jones, Donald Trump, etc. Well, Donald Trump did not use his Twitter account until yesterday, right before the interview. And boy, did it cause such interruption. There were a lot of folks from lip lock liberal land trying to stop the interview. Can you believe that? They actually tried to stop the interview. There were hacks. And we'll talk about that a little later, that Donald Trump's presidential headquarters were broken into. They hacked into his computers. They hacked into Mr. Elon Musk's. So the interview was delayed. because there was a huge attempt to stop this interview. Unsuccessful. 71 million plus were live listeners. Like I said, and plus the replays, they're well over 1 million. And this good thing go to over 2 million. So I've shared it on my Facebook account if you want to go there. I don't know how long it'll last because there may be someone. But the interesting thing is they brought up a lot of stuff. Now, here's my criticism. Donald Trump should have let Elon talk more. That's just my opinion. If he would have let Elon talk more, because Donald has a problem trying to always defend himself. He always wants to remind you what all he's done, which is usually good, but then he always wants to take shots at whoever took a shot at him. Somebody needs to thicken he's got thin skin right now. I know he's been attacked from all sides, that's why I try to give him some grace. Can you imagine being impeached twice, assassination attempt, all the lawsuits, all the minutia said about you? Every now and then, if you get an open microphone, I think you would try to defend yourself. So let's cut him some slack. But somebody needs to have a cup of coffee with the Don and say, hey, why don't you do it again and let Elon ask you questions and try to keep your answers to 1 minute to 2 minutes. Let Elon sell you to the people. Now, if you listen to the full 2 hours, I know it may be a lot. The first 45, 50 minutes is normal Trump. He's telling you what all he did. But the last hour and 10 minutes was pure gold. It was new stuff. They talked about the economy. They talked about energy. And they talked about things they agree on and some things maybe they're working to agree on. It was really interesting. And Donald Trump brought up two things I noticed. Well, there was actually three, but I'm going to tell you two right now. I'll try to bring the third one up later. He mentioned that I did not know there are other cities. He brought up how Israel has the dome, or protective dome. But he mentioned how there are other cities that have a similar dome of protection. So you got to ask yourself, what is that dome? Or who are those cities? And that's all he said. See, when you're president, you probably get told all kind of secret stuff that you just can't tell nobody. The second thing he mentioned, he bragged about the tunnels. Now, this is going to get the Q crowd jacked up because you guys know there are secret tunnels. He bragged to Elon that he's good at digging tunnels. Okay. Then they had to go back and discuss that. I think once Trump let it out of the bag. Now, Elon said what he would like to do with the tunnels is these bullet trains that, in China and stuff. He says you could do these trains underground that could connect state to state and could get you so much faster. And they're economically safer. And that's good. But the other thing that Donald Trump brought up, this is what I was trying to remember what it was. Okay, AI takes double the energy. He goes, if we launch AI the way they want to, it takes double the energy we even have now. That explains why the left is trying so hard to get us to go green. Okay, think about that. If the AI movement, and we talked about that a lot yesterday, and I may revisit some today in case you missed the show yesterday. But artificial intelligence, now listen real closely if you are a believer. Artificial intelligence, then they have a thing called humanoids. These are robots that look like humans, okay? And they'll walk amongst us one day, they're saying. So you got humanoids. You got artificial intelligence that some are just in computers, but some are actually walking and talking with us. Does that explain why they try to now do away with gender in all the distinguished? Because a humanoid would be genderless. Have you ever watched the movie with Will Smith, iBot or iRobot? And the rights of a robot and how there's certain laws are not supposed to, all that. Man, spooky. And if you watch Fox Business, Maria did an interview with a guy and his clone. And I played it yesterday. I might play it again later in the show. And the clone, as she asked a question, he paused for a minute because he was getting, and he was answering on his own. And the live dude was just smiling like a proud father, that, hey, my clone's doing a great job. But the bottom line, they were very good answers. The voice was very similar in the look. And so, interesting stuff, my friends. So, what Donald Trump, though, let out of the bag about the tunnels, he talked about there's cities with protective domes like the one in Israel, and he let that out of the bag that AI, for it to work, it will take double the energy. That explains certain things like Obama trying to tell us to get used to keeping our temperature between 79 and 80 degrees. Do you remember that? Telling us we were selfish. What it is, they want us to quit using so much energy so they can tap into the AI. The other thing I mentioned to you yesterday, India News Broadcast brought out, the ION, is that 80% of all jobs right now will be probably replaced with artificial intelligence or humanoids, unless, and this is again part of my show yesterday, if you get the Neuralink, there again is where Elon comes in. Elon Musk has successfully put Neuralinks in the head of folks, and it can do two things. One, if you're a paraplegic or if you have issues, it can, like Alzheimer's, it can help heal you. It's going to look like a modern day miracle. Secondly, he said if you put in the Neuralink, you would be able to compete with artificial intelligence on like jobs and such. So I ask you, my friend, what if you were told, hey, we have to let you go, but if you take the neurochip and the Neuralink chip, you can keep your job because you can compete with the AI. Problem is, now the Neuralink is supposed to be fantastic. You're going to be able to see within your head without using a phone or a keyboard or a computer screen. It'll all be in your head. You'll see text messages, emails, etc. And you'll use your mind to scroll and stuff. You won't use your hands. Won't that be interesting? But the problem, are you giving up your sovereign soul? Is that maybe why in Revelations 13 it says, those who take the mark of the beast cannot enter the kingdom of heaven? You'll lose your ability of freedom. Think about that. You just might become nothing more than a flesh and blood humanoid. It's a possibility. But if you cannot be a Democrat or Republican or Libertarian just for a few moments, just try to back off your tribe. Everyone's so tribal. And God kind of gave that to me this week. We get so locked into our tribes, be it a political party, a conspiracy theory group you're in, a church. You can get into a tribe, and anyone outside your tribe is not trusted. I'm just trying to get you to drop the tribe just for a minute and think for yourself. Is it possible that what they've been doing all this time is getting us into tribes so we won't trust and unite? So when they bring some of this stuff on us and at such a pace, we won't be able to fight back or push back, such as energy. If they take energy and completely do away with fossil fuels, as they call it, and do away with the gas and the natural gas and the clean coal, and we have to rely totally on solar and wind power. And what they do is they take all that energy and they're going to use that for their humanoids and their AIs and other things. See, as Donald Trump let out of the bag, for AI to be successful, they have to have twice as much the energy they're producing now and then some. How do they get twice the energy? By taking some of ours. Savvy? I'm going to ask you something, and be smart about this. How in the world will the average American, if we're all driving electric cars, go to sleep at night and you're recharging your car, your phone, your laptops, etc., and not blow the power grid? Interesting, is it not? So be careful that you and your tribe don't get so wrapped up in beating your chest on your political talking points, and listen very carefully who you listen to. But anyway, I'll be back after the break. This is Macil Duncan on the Macil Duncan radio show on MacilDuncanRadio.com. You can go to MacilDuncanRadio.com and connect to all my sources. USA Heartbeat, Street Level America, Destiny Life Media, SGM Alabama Radio down in Alabama, New Jersey Freedom Network, the Tennessee Conservative Network that just picked me up, God in Politics that just picked me up, also Revolver Ministries, Revolver Studios and Media out in Indiana. We appreciate all that have picked up the show. I'll be back after the break.
Hi, I just wanted to share that I love the radio show that Macil does. He just tells it like it is, which is so refreshing for a media outlet. He has an easygoing and uplifting personality, and he just makes you feel like you're a friend sitting in their living room talking. He does not fall for the gaslighting of today, and he shares the truth of the matter. I love his sense of humor, and his sound effects are great, like when he whistles, cracks me up. He has so much wisdom, and his variety of guests is just awesome. I learn a lot from his show. He does his research, obviously. So I just really wanted to say thank you, Chattanooga Radio. I just love this show. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
WVMG Chattanooga. Jesus said, "You do it unto the least of these, and it's as if you were doing it unto me." There are many hungry people in our communities. The Appleton Food Bank feeds over 3,000 people every month, and they could use your prayers. In these troubling times, the number of clients they are serving is increasing. You can make a donation today. Go online to AppletonBaptist.com. AppletonBaptist.com. Food drives, prayers, financial donations, all help. They have rented 2 old grocery stores. They're open 7 days a week for donations, and they distribute every Monday and Friday. The motto at Appleton Baptist Church is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. And you can get involved and help feed the hungry. Go to the website, AppletonBaptist.com. You know, there is someone hungry in your world tonight. So as you're seated tonight at your dinner table, enjoying the mashed potato and steak off the barbecue grill, remember that there are many people in our communities, in our world, that are not as fortunate as you are. So please consider donating your time, funds, and food to your local food bank or food pantry. And as you enjoy the barbecue tonight, please remember them. Check on the widows, elderly, and the orphans as well. You can donate in the Appleton, Tennessee area to Appleton Baptist Church. They have a food pantry there that would love your support. And there are many food pantries all over America. We need to feed this nation in more ways than one, but one way that we can literally feed them is with food. Get involved and make a difference. Do you love God and do you love America? If you do, you're going to love this radio show, the Macil Duncan Radio Show, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. right here at Destiny Life Media, 96.9 FM. You can also hear the show live and archives of the show at streetlevelamerica.com and usaheartbeat.com. Also hear it at MacilDuncanRadio.com, Rumble, X, Truth Social, Facebook, and more. And we're working on growing the show nationwide. The Patriot Pastor of Appleton Baptist Church, he is Macil Duncan on the Macil Duncan Radio Show.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the show. We're getting settled in here. got a breaking story that kind of breaks my heart being a pastor, but here locally, the Chattanooga Times Free Press and others are reporting Pastor, a former UTC basketball star, is accused in the COVID paycheck fraud. I was leery of this. A lot of we got a lot of calls saying, "Hey, do you want the government?" And a lot of churches went to this. Nothing's free, my friends, and the government supposedly tried to help churches, if for payroll, if you will. But some didn't realize it was potentially a loan. It's the wording, and we just didn't touch it. But a Chattanooga pastor and former UTC basketball star is accused of defrauding a pandemic employment assistant program. Now, Ricky Lee Taylor Jr., 34, is charged with one federal count of wire fraud and one count of tax fraud, court filings show. Taylor allegedly received around $1.8 million in loans from the Federal Paycheck Protection Program during the pandemic between April 2020 and February 2021. According to the charging document, he applied for loans for 5 businesses. Court filings show Potter's Wheel Trucking, Ricky Taylor Basketball, Arena of Praise, Spirit Logistics, and Reap Real Estate and Property. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm all for entrepreneurship. But if you're pastoring a church and you're trying to run 5 businesses and you're wanting that much government loans, you might be spreading yourself thin. Just a suggestion. Prosecutor alleged Taylor submitted fraudulent forms to obtain the loans. The reported number of employees receiving wages and wages actually paid to employees were grossly inflated, charging documents state. Taylor is also charged with committing tax fraud in 2021 when he filed with an income of around $72,000 and did not account for more than $1.8 million he received from the program. See, that's the whole thing. Nothing's free. Taxes may be tax-free, but if you pay yourself, you have to pay taxes. Now, let me educate you. If you're ordained, if they lay their empty hands on your empty head and you become what is called ordained, you are a self-employed person to the eyes of the government. And you have to pay all your taxes. The church doesn't pay a dime. So you've got to make sure you keep out, when the church, whatever the church pays me, I keep out 15%. And always pay a little extra. So when your pastor, Mr. and Ms. Grumpy Butt, whoever you are, Mr. and Ms. Grumpy Butt, think your pastors pay too much, take 15% off his salary. And he's paying that to Uncle Sam. Okay? So, Mr. and Ms. Grumpy Butt, settle down. Settle down. Taylor is also charged with committing tax fraud. If Taylor is found guilty, he could be ordered to pay a money judgment of over $900,000, which prosecutors said is the minimum amount of proceeds he personally obtained as a result of alleged fraud. A guy that makes $72,000 a year, and you're going to have to pay $900,000. I hope he didn't go to Vegas or something on that $900,000. The bottom line is Taylor played basketball for the University of Tennessee of Chattanooga between 2008 and 2012, becoming the Mock's 6th highest leading scorer in Division I. He later played professional in Europe and started Ricky Taylor Basketball as a ministry. A lawyer representing Taylor, Atlanta-based Murdoch Walker II, could not be reached immediately for comment this Tuesday morning as the story was breaking and they gave an opportunity for comment. But it's a shame. It's a shame. And you know what's sad? Most pastors are not very smooth financially. And it's always good to have a financial friend that knows somebody probably advised him in this. But anyway, yeah, keep that pastor in your prayers. God bless him here in Chattanooga, my hometown. And let's hope maybe he can find a way out of this with a settlement. Well, she showed up for a soundbite. She didn't shake anyone's hand. The California sheriff lashes out at Kamala the Walla Harris for using his face in her bogus border campaign without his permission. He's a little bit steamed, and Fox News has got cover of it.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border.
So Kamala Harris trying to flip the script on her border record. And one sheriff that is in that ad is outraged as she uses his image to do so. Tulare County, California Sheriff Mike Boudreau joins us now. So Sheriff, when you saw that ad and that she was representing you as an endorsement, what was your reaction?
Well, I can tell you here in California, we're ready for someone that's going to support law enforcement. Kamala Harris and law enforcement in California, we're very familiar with her and how she has done over the course of years as a senator and as a prosecutor and as the attorney general. And I can tell you that this ad is deceiving. And I can tell you that this ad is deceiving. I can tell you that this ad is deceiving. I can tell you that this ad is deceiving, to say the least. I remember this particular case where we did a drug cartel or a drug trafficking organization where we worked with DEA. And the issue was that in this particular situation, she showed up for a soundbite. She didn't shake anyone's hands, and she quickly left the briefing room.
Kamala the Walla, how do you answer that? Wow. You got to wonder if her and Fannie the Wanny Willis and some of these folks go to the same law school of It's All About Me. Because that's all they worry about is, you're supposed to, if you're representing the law, most lawyers and most prosecutors aren't looking for cameras and microphones. They're looking for evidence and truth. But Kamala the Walla, evidently that's my new nickname for her. You like that, Kamala the Walla? She showed up, and this sheriff is upset. The Gateway Pundit just reports here, California Sheriff Mike Brudo lashed out at Kamala the Walla on Tuesday for including him in his border ad without his permission. That could be possibly a lawsuit. Don't know. But the Tulare County Sheriff, Mike Brudo, told Fox and Friends that he is only in the ad because she came in for a photo shoot and immediately left without shaking hands or talking to anyone. So what she's doing now is nothing new then. Kamala's known for no comment, evidently, unless she's been smoking marijuana with you. Okay. Remember, she likes to talk after a toke or two. So that's going to be interesting. And the Democratic convention's coming up next week. You watch. This is my prediction. I could be wrong. They're going to bring out Hollywood. I think the George Clooney, who we're all sick of, they're going to bring out, actresses, and they're going to bring out all the glamour. They'll probably bring in a Taylor Swift to sing a jig, and someone was going to shoot me like Trump, get some sympathy. Then they'll bring in probably, they won't bring all, but they're going to pick either Obama or Hillary or Bill Clinton. One of them is going to come in and deliver some kind of hey, we're going to unite the party. I'm picking Bill. Obama has been a little bit stained with the possibility of running the show from behind the scenes. If Obama gets on the stage, I think that's going to enhance that image. Michelle Obama, I don't think she's as liked as many other. I think Bill Clinton will be the guy. See if I'm right. And Bill will talk about, you got to, remember he did the thumb thing? I did not have sex with that woman. Yeah, you did. But anyway, he'll get up. He's going to do his thing. Or someone will. Someone of the old guard. It's going to be like passing the torch thing. I don't believe Nancy Pelosi will speak. I believe she's embarrassed herself because she is being labeled as the one that kicked Biden out. And I don't believe Biden will speak, but I don't doubt this. Jill Biden will probably say something. I think Joe's too much of a liability, but I could see Jill getting up there if they pay her. I'll be back after the break.
Hey, I'm from Texas, and I love listening to your show because y'all tell the truth on there. You don't water it down, and I know what I listen to is real. And so, yes, just want to say that I'm glad that you're doing the show, and I'm friends with Jolene, and I do love America. I really do. Keep going. Gung ho, guys, with the show. We got your back. Bye.
WVMG Chattanooga. We are growing better together all the time. Those are the words of Dr. Steve Ball of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. One of the ways that they grow is with life groups. It's very important for you to get connected in a small group so you can develop relationships and hold each other accountable. Dr. Ball says they believe that Metro Tab is growing larger and smaller at the same time. Life groups are an important part in developing relationships with others who share your interests and are dealing with similar life issues. Why don't you get connected? Check out life groups and the many other offerings at Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They want to be involved in your life. The address is 2101 West Shepherd Road, just off Highway 153 at the airport exit. It is time for the Church of Jesus Christ to roar. That is one of the core principles of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Their mission is to restore the roar in the body of Christ by establishing a foundation of faith in the Word of God through the power and demonstration of His Holy Spirit. They will reclaim the original intent of God for the church through training, equipping, releasing believers, and raising up leaders who will carry the roar of the Lion of the tribe of Judah to build strong local churches. And we all need that. You can find out more information by going to their website, myroar.org. Metro Tabernacle Church is located at 2101 West Shepherd Road, at the airport exit off of Highway 153 in Chattanooga. Let's roar. It is time for Christians to roar, to make a difference in the community. That is the belief of Metro Tabernacle Church and Dr. Steve Ball. They have the School of Roar. The School of Roar is hosting a summer 2024 The Prophetic. Classes open to everyone, and registration is free. Do you want to learn how to work more in the prophetic? Attend one of the class schedules. Registration deadline June 2nd. There will be a class Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30 p.m. and one again July 16th at 6:30 p.m. You can register at the website metrotab.net or myroar.org. That is myroar.org. It is time for the church to roar.
Is facing felony and misdemeanor charges this afternoon after an investigation by TBI special agents. Celeste Murphy is accused of providing false information on several government documents related to establishing residency within the city. A local grand jury returned a 17-count indictment charging Murphy with 1 count of illegal voter registration, 1 count of making false entries on an official registration or election documents, among others, 3 counts of perjury, and 6 counts of official misconduct. She has been released from jail on a $19,000 bond.
So Chattanooga's been having some problems lately. We've got a police chief that has been indicted on over 17 counts. The TBI, that's the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Now, I have a nephew that's a TBI agent. I've got a cousin that's a CIA agent. My father's a retired FBI agent. I've got another cousin-in-law that's a Homeland Security agent. So when I need to know something, I've got a few sources. I don't have to say secret sources like a lot of these Q people do. But I can tell you this. She's going to jail. This lady did some bad stuff, and she's the police chief from Chattanooga, Tennessee. But where did she come from? Well, if you go and do the deep dive, she came from Fulton County, where Fannie the Wanny Willis is from. So when Mayor Kelly picked her, this is before the news broke, of course, about Fannie the Wanny Willis, and this is before we realized the setup and the legal troubles they were going to do on Donald J. Trump running for re-election. But surely Mayor Kelly here in Chattanooga had to have done some research and found some of these things, and these are character issues as well as legal issues. But the interesting thing about Miss Murphy when she became the police chief, two things we all noticed as conservatives. One, she would never come to any Christian events. She would not come to the annual prayer event, which has always the two mayors, and Mayor Kelly's been El Skippity-Doo-Dah lately. He came early on, and then in COVID, he sent a wonderful video. Sound like a Sunday school class. Mayor Kelly interpreted scripture, I thought, as well as a pastor. But then he's El Skippity-Doo-Dah. He's not shown up since the COVID. But, you know, Mayor Wamp was there. You got to give Weston creds. Anytime there's something asked of Weston Wamp in the Christian community, he's always produced. I think Weston's well on his way for a second term. But anyway, the other thing, at the prayer breakfast, you always have your sheriff and your police chief. The two mayors, the sheriff and police chief, and all the other dignitaries of the city are there for 1 hour of prayer. No policies, no politics. They have a speaker, which is usually spot on. Now, when we had Governor Lee a few years back, that was powerful. It was packed, okay? The CIA agent they had this past year, or Secret Service, any one of the agents, he did a great job this year. And the year before was the backup speaker. The guy got sick, and the backup speaker was hilarious here in Chattanooga. Jumping off a bridge and swimming to his boat. You need to hear that. I'm digressing. But where am I going with this? Right now, Chattanooga, a smart city. This is my home city. That's why I'm putting a plea out. We need to pray. Because when you have your police chief go down, like with 17 counts, that's not good. And she's connected with Georgia. Now, I've got some Georgia Bulldog fans, but let's be honest, Georgia politics right now it's corrupt. Rafflesberger and Kemp, they, to me, are very, very corrupt. Okay? Not just because they don't like Trump. They are, I think, behind a lot of stuff that's not good. That's just my opinion. With that said, Chattanooga, we just reported about the pastor that did the $1.8 million money grab during the COVID. And you got this police chief, and one of her things she did was election fraud. She tried to vote in Georgia and Tennessee, apparently, if I understand one of the indictments. That's not okay. So if Chattanooga, we're not the biggest city. I think we're like maybe the 5th or 6th largest in the state of Tennessee. We're not a huge city. But here's the good news, Chattanooga. We still have enough justice left and enough good cops that made this indictment happen. What happens in Chicago, New York, L.A., Philadelphia, the big cities? Is there anyone that can bring corruption charges against a police chief or a mayor, etc.? It's very hard. But hats off to the Chattanooga police. I salute you, my friends. A good friend of mine, Terry, went to high school with. He's the new track coach over at GPS, as well as, of course, he's a detective. But he and I were having lunch a while back, and I asked him about this chief. I said, she likes to get her picture made with all the transgenders. Anytime there's something crazy downtown, she's always there. Whenever there's a shooting, she walks up to the camera. This is not gang related before an investigation's even taken place. But she can't show up for a prayer breakfast. I've got a problem with that. And Terry just said, he shook his head. He goes, from day one, we've all had our doubts. And he said, that's all I can say. He was trying to keep it cool. So I don't know if he knew that she was being looked at or not. But here's the deal, and I'm going to move on. Christians, we're not promised that we're going to live in pristine conditions till Christ returns. As a matter of fact, we're promised that we're going to live in sinful, unfair, and at times we're going to be turned over. We might even be killed for our faith. So we've got to understand, during the times where you have corrupt police chief, you may even have corrupt pastors that are stealing. You might have corrupt, who knows? There's got to come a time, though, where you just say, you know what? Everybody else may swing that way, but not me. I'm going to be someone that will do my best to tell the truth, live the truth, and be the truth in the name of Jesus. And that's more needed today than ever. But we'll see what happens with the ongoing trial of the police chief. We're going to talk more about the upcoming, if you will, the interview on at the 4 o'clock hour. I'm going to play you some clips and talk a little bit about the Trump and Elon Musk deal. But this just dropped on the news. I thought you might be interested. See what you think.
Former Democratic U.S. Representative and Army Reserve Officer Tulsi Gabbard is taking legal action against the Biden administration for reportedly putting her on a terrorist watch list.
My own government, my president, my commander-in-chief is targeting me as a potential domestic terrorist. The closest word that comes to mind is a complete sense of betrayal.
Gabbard said she learned of being on the Quiet Skies watch list, a TSA program monitoring elevated risks to aviation security, from 2 TSA whistleblowers following an appearance on Fox News. In an interview with Laura Ingraham, Gabbard criticized U.S. intervention in Ukraine, calling it a proxy war. Afterwards, she said she began to be more subject to more frequent and tedious searches. The whistleblowers reportedly acknowledge Gabbard is being trailed by agents, but the reason is still unclear.
Of course, there's no explanation given, which is why we are taking legal recourse.
Gabbard believes her criticism of the Biden administration may be the reason.
Obviously, I've been very outspoken about the dangers of the Biden-Harris administration to our democracy and to our freedom and to our national security. And this is what happens as a result.
The revelations have also sparked outrage among Hawaii lawmakers, the state Gabbard represented in Congress. 4 state representatives sent a letter to the TSA demanding answers and calling the move harassment. Reports say several agents and 2 explosive detection canine teams followed Gabbard and her husband in the airport last month. The TSA reportedly is investigating the identity of the whistleblowers who leaked sensitive security information in Gabbard's case. The agency declined to comment on the alleged retaliatory probe, but said Quiet Skies uses a risk-based approach to identify passengers and apply enhanced security measures on some domestic and outbound international flights.
Now, this is outrageous. Tulsi Gabbard, who serves currently still in our reserves. Yes, she is a former Democrat. Yes, she was a Bernie Sanders, feel the burn liberal. Okay? But she loves this country. She's the only Democrat in 2016 that met with Trump. He invited everyone in the Democrat and the Republican Party to have a one-on-one sit-down as he was preparing to take over in 2016. When he won the election, you know, after you win in November, you're not inaugurated till January. So during that time, He made appointments with everybody. The only Democrat that went and met with Trump was Tulsi Gabbard, and she was excoriated for that. The other reason they don't like her is because when she stood up to Hillary Clinton during the Democratic primary during that time, she said that they stole the election from Bernie Sanders. And she was very adamant that she felt Hillary Clinton did not win the election. And if you remember, the news was not very honest, but the Bernie people were outside the Democratic convention, and they were not allowed inside because, see, to get into a Democratic National Convention, you have to have photo ID. I thought that was racial. I thought that was prejudicial. But you have to be in the Democratic National Convention. So they were withholding anyone that was a Bernie Sanders lover. They made them stay outside the locked gates. So they were taking their phones and they were doing a lot of live broadcasts. A few of them slipped into the DNC, and they were showing what the media wasn't, blanked out balconies with no one there. The DNC was trying to act like it was a packed house, and they only packed the bottom floor. Hillary Clinton was and is a failure. She's a liar. I think you know that. But she probably stole it from Bernie Sanders, and the sad thing is this. If Bernie and Trump had gone against each other, two things I think would have happened. The world would have seen two non-party-backed guys unite the electorate. Can you imagine what could have happened? If they had allowed Bernie Sanders to go against Donald Trump, I bet you it would have been the biggest record turnout vote of all time legally, not any of the hanky-panky that we saw with these drop-off boxes. Tulsi Gabbard was a superdelegate and the vice president of the Democratic Party. She resigned as vice president. She gave up her superdelegacy in protest to Hillary Clinton stealing the nomination. She's been on their list all the time, and now they've got her on the TSA watch list as if she's a domestic terrorist. I think these whistleblowers have got to quit getting. You remember when the whistleblower against Trump, we found out later it was Adam Schiff's son-in-law son-in-law. What a joke! Adam Schiff obviously got a family member to say all these fantastic things against Trump, which could not be proven. Do you remember when Adam Schiff went on to say, I know for a fact I've seen the documents, and then he just nothing but lied before Congress? Why is that man not in jail? I ask you this because you have someone like a Tulsi Gabbard who was on the other side, and be honest with you, friend, to be a feel the burn, a Bernie Sanders person now has swung to supporting Trump. That tells you how far she's come. Okay? She's not changed parties. She's just gone independent, but she left the Democratic Party along with Kristen Sinema, along with the West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. There are several Democrats that have left the party and have gone independent. Bernie Sanders is an independent, but they still caucus with the Democratic Party. I find this egregious that they've done this to Tulsi Gabbard. And I am not saying I would vote for her if she ran for office, but I would be very kind to her. I'd love to have her on the show sometime because I believe she's a woman of truth. You may not like her truth, but I don't think she lies. And think of this. She's the only one we know of that has stood toe-to-toe to Hillary Clinton and is still breathing. Think about that. Most folks that go against Hillary the Killary end up either having a hairdryer thrown in your bathtub or you fall asleep on the train tracks. If you want to have an interesting read about Hillary the Killary, look for Big Sister's Watching You. It's a book by Tex Mars. I've mentioned it before on the show. It's a very interesting read. It only covers the governorship and the first term of Bill Clinton in office. But it lists all the people that died. People that were their former security guards, state troopers, just all of these people that have died, plus All these people that were appointed into Bill Clinton's cabinet, one was a madame. You say, what is that? That's a woman that runs a whorehouse. She was in his cabinet at a lower level, but her job was to bring in the chicks for Bill. Now, why doesn't that ever make the news? Just like Epstein Island, why in the world has that list remained dormant? Because I believe once that list, if ever, sees the light of day, that's why they made the deal with Julian Assange. I believe the Democrats, because you remember Hillary wanted to bomb the embassy and kill everyone in there, including Assange. But Obama wisely said, I don't think so, Hillary. That's not a good thing. You know, you can't go killing everybody. But if Hillary had been president, she would have probably bombed the embassy. But here's the deal. We may never know because Julian Assange is one of the few folks. But anyway, I just find that very, very interesting that this dropped and it got me going. But I just hate that for Tulsi Gabbard because she's not, to me, someone that deserves that kind of treatment. But we'll see. We'll see. A few other news items I thought you might be interested in. One is the USA gymnast is being aggressively attacked for her medal. See what you think.
We have the latest turn in the Olympic medal controversy involving gymnast Jordan Chiles. And unfortunately, it did not go Team USA's way. On Monday, we reported the USA Gymnastics Organization sent Olympic officials what it called time-stamped video evidence that showed Chiles' coach requested a review of her score within the allotted 1 minute, and Chiles should be able to keep the bronze medal that was awarded to her following a score change. However, USA Gymnastics later released a statement on Monday saying the Court of Arbitration for Sport would not reconsider its ruling to strip Chiles of the medal. But the twist to this saga may not be over just yet. USA Gymnastics saying it will continue to pursue every possible avenue and appeal process, including the Swiss Federal Tribunal to, quote, ensure the just scoring, placement, and medal award for Jordan.
Can you believe that? All for a bronze medal. And you may say, well, Jordan has won other medals. But the fact is, she won that one fair and square. If you go look, and what they're saying, they're not saying that Jordan Chiles didn't have a better score. What they're saying is they believe the coach didn't appeal in enough time so they could steal the medal. The bottom line is the score's the score. The best gymnast should get it. And they did a review, and Jordan Chiles had a better score. Not to mention, she's named after Michael Jordan. Come on! I like the kid. I think she did a great job. Hey, fellas, guess what? Looks like cancer might be something we have to worry about as we get older.
Medical researchers are predicting a significant rise in cancer cases and deaths, specifically among men, by
Hello, fellas. Are you listening? Cancer deaths among men is going up. Let's check it out.
A significant rise in cancer cases and deaths, specifically among men, by the year 2050. The new findings published in an American Cancer Society journal suggest that globally, cancer cases among men are expected to skyrocket from 10 million in 2022 to a staggering 19 million by 2050. That's an 84% increase. Meanwhile, cancer-related deaths are projected to nearly double, rising from 5.4 million in 2022 to 10.5 million in 2050, which is a 93% increase. The age demographic most impacted will be men aged 65 and older.
I'm just asking for a friend. They're predicting male cancer will go up by 2050. I wonder how many of these men took the jab. Because they're finding out, independent studies, if you took all 3 shots and the 2 boosters, your risk of cancer is up 62%. Just saying. Not trying to scare you. Elon Musk versus the woke mind virus.
This woke mind virus.
Yes.
in really apocalyptic terms. You should explain why you don't think it's hyperbole to say things like it's pushing civilization towards suicide. First of all, what is the woke mind virus? And if we don't deal with this, nothing else.
He's talking about the woke mind virus. That's on the Bill Maher HBO show. Check it out.
Can get done. Tell me why you think that.
I think we need to be very cautious about anything that is anti-meritocratic and anything that is that results in the suppression of free speech. So, those are two of the aspects of the woke mind virus that I think are very dangerous. Is that it's often anti-meritocratic. You can't question things. Even the questioning is bad. Another way to almost synonymous would be cancel culture. And obviously people have tried to cancel you many times.
Many times.
Yeah, I mean,
every week.
Yeah.
From left and right. I've had it from both sides.
This is the cancel culture that now pervades America. Yet, people on the left, the very people responsible for it, claim it doesn't exist. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez mocks those who fear its growing influence. Odds are you're not actually canceled, she tweeted. You're just being challenged, held accountable, or unliked. The representatives claim that this is merely accountability culture is common on the left. Don't believe it. Accountability means a duty to explain. Accountability involves confronting a person with their actions in a way that allows them to explain themselves or ask for forgiveness and otherwise continue the dialogue. The purpose of cancellation is very different. It seeks to bring all conversation to an end, to strike fear in the public so that no one else dares to speak up. That is cancellation, and it extends far beyond criticism. Cancellation involves social media mobs engaged in public shaming and the creation of blacklists. It seeks the destruction of the career and reputation of anyone who differs with a leftist position. The bullies, says social critic Douglas Murray, want to stop the rest of us talking or thinking. Virtually no one is immune. Not Kevin Hart, not J.K. Rowling, not Woodrow Wilson, not Drew Brees. Not the famous or the unknown, not the living or the dead. So many have been burned at the social media stake. One has to wonder if the mob is going to run out of victims. But this fire will not burn itself out. We have to stop it.
We do. And that's where I go back to be careful what village you represent. It's okay to have a religious belief, a political belief, etc. But don't be so inclined to protect your village if it's wrong. Savvy? We're so village mindset. We love to run in packs. It's a natural thing. Nobody likes being alone. I mean, Adam was alone, and God created Eve, mainly, if you notice, because he was lonely. He was counting all the animals. He was naming them. Hippos had hippettes, giraffes had giraffettes, and he's going, "Hi, I don't got a companion." And God let a deep sleep fall upon him, and he made Eve. And that's why we call her Woman, because when he woke up, he said, "Whoa, man," because she was, in her birthday suit, and he was impressed. With that said, people today want to make judgments, and if you don't talk and walk like them, they want to try to get folks in their tribe to come hate you and your tribe. I just think we've got to get this tribalism under control. It's unhealthy. And I agree with what was said there, the woke mind virus, and I believe sometime in the future we're going to have to see about correcting that. Here's a quick one for the break.
There are new concerns over foreign interference in the U.S. election after the Trump campaign said over the weekend it was hacked by who they believe to be Iranian hackers. Both Politico and the Washington Post reported receiving hundreds of confidential internal documents, including research on Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, from an anonymous email account. News of a campaign hack comes just as Microsoft said it discovered evidence that Iranian hackers targeted the email account of a campaign official back in June. A person familiar with those talks told the
Hi, this is Renee for the Republic. StarSpangled.Chick.com, a mission to awaken souls and help save America, headquartered in the South. I recommend the Macil Duncan radio show because, as a former news journalist, I know how important it is to find credible sources in today's world gone mad. Join Macil Duncan on his show and me on social media such as Facebook at Star Spangled Chick to find out why loving and protecting America has never been more vital in the history of the USA.
WVMG Chattanooga, 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan from Nashville, funds the National Education Order 108447 in 1959 that declared Constitution Day in public schools, and that's something we sorely need. More than 1 million kids last year got a free copy of the Constitution, and this year's goal is 2 million kids. Imagine that. The Constitution in the hands of 2 million American kids. On September 17th, all public schools are to distribute and educate students on the Constitution of the United States. If you'd like to help out, 917, that's 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan of Nashville, Tennessee. And remember, the goal this year, 2 million copies of the Constitution in kids' hands. And you can help. Again, the website, 917society.com. Jesus said, "You do it unto the least of these, and it's as if you were doing it unto me." There are many hungry people in our communities. The Appleton Food Bank feeds over 3,000 people every month, and they could use your prayers. In these troubling times, the number of clients they are serving is increasing. You can make a donation today. Go online to AppesonBaptist.com. AppesonBaptist.com. Food drives, prayers, financial donations, all help. They have rented 2 old grocery stores. They're open 7 days a week for donations, and they distribute every Monday and Friday. The motto at Appeson Baptist Church is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. And you can get involved and help feed the hungry. Go to the website, AppesonBaptist.com. You know, there is someone hungry in your world tonight. So as you're seated tonight at your dinner table, enjoying the mashed potato and steak off the barbecue grill, remember that there are many people in our communities, in our world, that are not as fortunate as you are. So please consider donating your time, funds, and food to your local food bank or food pantry. And as you enjoy the barbecue tonight, please remember them. Check on the widows, elderly, and the orphans as well. You can donate in the Appleton, Tennessee area to Appeson Baptist Church. They have a food pantry there that would love your support. And there are many food pantries all over America. We need to feed this nation in more ways than one, but one way that we can literally feed them is with food. Get involved and make a difference.
FedEx delivers more than 3 billion packages a year. And what's inside the packages can be anything, like clothing, toys, food, even cash. However, a new class action lawsuit says not all the money in those FedEx packages is going to the rightful recipient. According to the Institute for Justice, the nonprofit libertarian law firm representing the plaintiffs, law enforcement and prosecutors are seizing millions of dollars a year in cash from these packages that are being sent through the FedEx Express World Hub in Indianapolis, where up to 99,000 packages are processed every hour. Authorities can seize these packages through civil asset forfeiture laws, where police can take property if it's suspected of being connected to a crime, even when no charges are filed. The Department of Justice says asset forfeiture is designed to deprive criminals of their proceeds of their crimes, to break the financial backbone of organized criminal syndicates and drug cartels, and to recover property that may be used to compensate victims and deter crime. The Institute for Justice says the legal process, quote, turns justice on its head, making cops into robbers rather than crime fighters. In its suit against the state of Indiana and the Marion County prosecutor, the Institute says the cash is being taken without a legitimate reason, presenting the case of a couple who owns a wholesale jewelry business in California. According to the suit, one of their customers from Virginia sent them money through FedEx. The package was seized by an Indianapolis officer, and prosecutors began forfeiture proceedings to keep the cash. The Institute says the prosecutors have not been able to connect the cash with a crime, adding that the reasons given for its initial seizure were based in large part on a slate of factual inaccuracies, such as the package not having a signature when it did, and the officer calling the package suspicious because all the seams were sealed with tape. But as the Institute points out, that is a recommendation on the FedEx website. Earlier this year, a civil forfeiture case brought before the Supreme Court led to a 6-3 ruling saying a preliminary hearing to determine whether police may keep the seized property was not constitutionally required. In her dissenting opinion, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote, "The process is vulnerable to abuse as police agencies often have a financial incentive to seize and keep the property."
So there you go. So this just dropped millions of dollars illegally seized from FedEx packages. So you might want to keep in mind if you're going to send gift cards. Now, something that I have personally noticed, we sent our one of our daughters a anniversary card. It was 4 days before their anniversary. She got it 2 weeks later. There was a check that was mailed to us from Florida for our one of my listeners down in Florida. They sent us a nice $3,000 gift to the food pantry. And she kept calling and checking on it. And what's weird, her son lives in the area. She mailed the check and a card to them on the same day. Ours received a week later. So there's something about, there must be some way of them knowing when gift cards, checks, or cash are in those envelopes. You might keep that in mind in your future endeavors. Well, the FBI is evidently investigating the attempts to hack the U.S. presidential campaign. I think a lot of folks worried that 2020, if not stolen, was tampered with. I think there's a huge majority that would agree of one of those two opinions. Here's something the FBI is working on.
The FBI is now investigating attempted hacks into both the Trump and Biden-Harris campaigns. The investigation includes attempted hacks targeting 3 Biden-Harris campaign staffers and Roger Stone, a former advisor to former President Donald Trump. Stone told the Washington Post his email had been compromised, but it's not clear if attempts to hack the Biden campaign were successful. A Harris campaign official says it does not appear to have been hacked. On Friday, Microsoft issued a report showing Iranian operatives had been trying to interfere with the 2024 election. Trump's campaign confirmed over the weekend it appears to have been impacted by those efforts after news outlets were sent hundreds of confidential pages.
So I don't know about you, but I think a lot of folks are concerned that there is some kind of a, if you will, an attempt to mess with the election. There are hackers. There are people that think it's their mission, just like a missionary in the Christian church wants to save the world and spread the gospel of Christ. That same passion that some of you understand that are evangelistic to go out and share Christ, to win the world. Some would even say be dishonest. There's missionaries in other countries that are there kind of under false pretenses, if you will. They're going on work visas and other things, knowing that it's illegal to plant churches, pass out Bibles, but they do it because they have such a commitment to sharing the gospel of Christ. I'm not trying to be unkind. I'm just being a very honest person. So what happens, I think, we forget, people can be just as ambitious, just as motivated with a cause that disagrees with our tribe, especially if somebody believes because of the minutia that Donald Trump's evil, he's bad, we have to do anything to stop him. Much like in Atlanta when they reported the fake water leak and evacuated the building. Then on security tape, you have the mother and daughter pulling out illegal ballots and running them multiple times through the machine there in Atlanta to try to help Biden win. That's illegal. That's wrong. But somewhere in their mind, they believe they're doing the best for the country. Savvy? Isn't that interesting? So you have folks that hack into, and some just do it purely for monetary gains. There's some that have hacked into big corporations and said, listen, if you don't give us money, we're going to tie up your emails and your businesses. And it's like terrorism ransom. So if you go into a business and say, listen, if you don't pay me, we're going to keep you from doing business. Would you say that is a bad thing? Well, just welcome to the Rainbow Coalition of Jesse Jackson. He would send letters to certain companies that said, listen, either you pay us $500,000, $1 million, whatever he was asking, or I'll have people down here picketing. We will tie up your buildings. We'll keep you from making a profit, and you'll wish you wrote the check. Just saying. There's people in religion, and he's an ordained minister. Somehow Jesse Jackson in his brain has resolved that's okay. It's not okay, Jesse. It's not okay to extort people. But there's people in this country and around the globe that think, hey, as long as I win, no matter the cost, no matter who it hurts, no matter what is done. See, right and wrong is a battle now. What is right and what is wrong? Are there true plumb lines that are agreeable anymore? See, that's where you take away the Bible from society. The Bible and the Ten Commandments, for instance, are basic things that you would have that you would agree upon. You're not supposed to kill people. You're not supposed to steal. You know, you're not supposed to, there's several things it says you're not supposed to do. But when you take the Bible out and treat it like it's just another piece of literature and not an authority voice to consider living by. If you go back and look at the Mayflower Compact that was written by the Pilgrims, for 85 years, I don't know if you know this, the Pilgrims lived by what they call the Mayflower Compact. If you go read the Mayflower Compact, it's nothing but the Bible. The Ten Commandments, the instructions from the Word of God, how to treat your neighbor, how to love on one another, treat your neighbor as yourself, etc. But then when the Revolutionary War broke out, see, the Christians had lived on in America for over 100 years at this point. The Pilgrims had come, the land and the advancement, things were happening. States were actually being formed, but we were still under the rule of Great Britain. But see, the problem was the church was the if you want to call it the hub of the community still at that time. But when they wrote the Constitution, many of you may know this, may not, they had several moments of disagreement. And at one point, Ben Franklin said, my friends, let's pause for a time of prayer, because they were at an impasse. And they took a break for several hours, and everyone left and had a time of prayer and cooling off, came back, and sure enough, they agreed. But did you know when they wrote the Constitution and they signed it, they literally buried it for 6 months so they could all get their affairs in order, because they knew once this was public, it would be considered an act of treason. Were you aware of that? Our founding fathers knew going against Great Britain was going to be pretty much a death wish for them. Why did they do it? Why would you put your life and your family's life on the line? Because they knew it was right. One of the big things you heard is taxation without representation. Those kind of views trying to send a message to King George. And bottom line, as you know, the Civil War happened. We ended up winning. And I've mentioned this on my show before. Do you know who King George blamed for them losing the war? He blamed the preachers. He called it the Black-Robed Regiment. I've spoke on this for many years. But if you go back and look, it was the pastors that told their pulpits, it's time to defend freedom. If you'll join me, most pastors took off their robes and picked up a rifle and led their men into battle. Because pastors at one time were respected. People would listen to what they had to say and felt they were men of integrity and honor. And if they were going to put their life on the line, along with the founding fathers, they followed that. It's called courage. That's probably one of the things you'll find when you listen to the Elon Musk and Trump debate. That is very intriguing, because right after Donald Trump was the assassination attempt, Elon Musk immediately endorsed Donald Trump when he said he would not endorse a candidate. He just had made an announcement a year and a half ago. He was leaving the Democratic Party, who he'd always supported, and was going to vote for the next GOP candidate. He said whoever it was, but he would not endorse a candidate. He said what made him change his mind was when Donald Trump stood up and put his fist in the air and said, fight, fight, fight. He said that courage motivated him. He said, and that's what this country needs. If we're going to move forward, we need someone of courage. You got to admit, that was bold of Trump. There could have been other shooters. There could have been other things out there. But for him to stand, pretty much, and the media's trying to make you forget about it, but that picture is going to go down in history. It may even wind up on some kind of a currency one day, because that was an impact moment, and I think it will be remembered no matter how the election turns out. So that's my little word for you about being sure that you are in your tribe, that you're getting good information, that you do your research, and that what you stick your neck out for, it's worth sticking your neck out for. Sometimes you just got to say, is it worth the damage it could cause by me sticking my neck out? Is it worth all that I'm about to go through? Some people say yes, some people say no. But thank God that the founding fathers and those early pastors said, you know what? I'm going to stick my neck out. And because they did, you and I have the freedom we have today. You like to bark separation of church and state, but if you go back and look, it's not in the Constitution. Separation of church and state was actually issued by one of our presidents to a Baptist assembly, assuring them that there would never be a Church of England demanding we all worship the same way and the same God. He said there will always be a wall of separation of church and state. And what they did was they took that and they repeated it through many legal challenges and made many of you think it's in the Constitution when it's not. I've made this remark on my show before. You find that in the Constitution, I'll buy you a steak dinner. And I think I've told you before, I had a guy that was over the school system of North Mississippi, a former teacher, a former principal, and then he was the director of a school district. Savvy? And when I told him, if you can find separation of church and state in the Constitution, I will buy you a steak dinner. I said it from the pulpit. Oh, he rubbed his hands and smiled, says, preacher, you're going to have to buy me a big, and he was just bragging. Well, the next Sunday when I went to church, he was ducking and diving. I finally said, Charlie, his name was Charlie Alexander. I said, Charlie, Dr. Charlie. And he said, well, it's implied. I said, no, sir. And then he admitted this. Well, Macil, I got to admit, I've taught school for, I can't remember how many years. I was a principal. Now I'm a director. I have a doctorate. And until you challenged me, listen, he said, I've never read the Constitution. I only read it to get a free steak. And I'm ashamed of myself. Speaking of being ashamed of yourself, I am a Harley Davidson fan, but if this is true, I might be selling my Harley.
Descend on Sturgis, South Dakota for the annual motorcycle rally. Iconic bike brand Harley Davidson is facing some backlash. A conservative activist named Robbie Starbuck is claiming that the rough and tough American company is going woke and says the new CEO is pushing the company to embrace DEI initiatives and progressive policies. His post even catching the attention of Elon Musk, who wrote on X, quote, doesn't sound super compatible with their customers. Fox News has reached out to Harley Davidson and has not heard back. Of course, if we get anything like that during this segment, we'll put it on the screen. But it is not the first time, of course, that a corporate America is getting called out for this. Let's bring in Taylor Riggs and Jackie DeAngelis, co-hosts of the Big Money Show on Fox Business. I think it's important to reiterate these are only allegations at this point. Serious stuff, especially considering this is a publicly traded company, Taylor. I don't know, first your reaction to it.
Yeah, I think my reaction is overall, given that, we're on a business show, is companies have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders to do what is right for the company. Making money, being loyal to their customers, helping shareholders make money, give them good guidance for what the future looks like, right? When inflation is high and your customers are struggling, that's not the time to go woke. That's for any company, right?
Okay, hey sweetheart, it's not, you shouldn't go woke no matter. Your average Harley Davidson rider is a good true blue American. They're usually Trump supporters. They're defend the flags. Do you remember that crazy church down in Florida that was going around and rioting at funerals and stuff? It was the Harley Davidson and the bike groups that finally shut them up. They would go and put 100-man wall so families could actually have their funerals and stuff, and they basically out-bullied the bullies of that little bitty church that the media carried their water for several months. Well, once the motorcycle guys got involved, it was over. It was the motorcycle folks that did a lot of standing and strong during the 2016 and 2020 election for Trump. To hear that Harley Davidson might be going woke, if it's true, and they don't recant, I was saying on my show, I will sell my Harley and go buy an Indian or another motorcycle. I will not tolerate a Harley Davidson in my garage if they're going woke. I'm sorry, I don't care what your reason is. Not acceptable. Not acceptable. Well, we're going to go into that. Elon Musk had a say in that, so it's a little segue. Elon Musk, he says we're in deep trouble if Trump doesn't win. See what you think.
Trump sat down for an extended interview last night, and he went hard after Vice President Kamala Harris on the issues.
She is considered more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic. She's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. The election's coming up, and the people want to hear about the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen.
The Harris campaign responded this way, a statement. Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself. Self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024.
So interesting. Now, there were a lot of hacks of X and at the Donald Trump campaign headquarters. I've actually even got a story here. Let's see. It's break-in at Trump. It's at the Blaze Media. Break-in at Trump campaign office. Unidentified suspect still at large. A camera caught the suspect. He broke into the former President Donald Trump's Virginia campaign office over the weekend. The suspect was described by Northern Virginia Loudoun County Sheriff's Office as a white adult male wearing dark clothing, a dark cap, and a backpack. Surveillance video captured the suspect breaking into the location and walking through the office, according to the sheriff's office spokesman. The sheriff's office was contacted about the break-in around 9 p.m. on Sunday. Photographs of the suspect have been released to the public in an attempt to identify him as he remains at large. The image appears to show that the man either opening or placing items into a backpack. However, authorities have not confirmed whether anything was taken from the office. Sheriff Chapman said, or stated, "It is rare to have the office of any political campaign or party broken into, except for Watergate. We are determined to identify the suspect, investigate why it happened, and determine what may have been taken, as well as may have been left behind." The campaign office also serves as headquarters of the Virginia 10th District Republican Committee. So the campaign office, was broken into. Neither the Trump campaign nor the committee responded to a request for a comment from the Associated Press. But the picture is out there. He looks to be a man, to me, about 30 to 35. And he, to me, looks, he's very fit looking. He's probably done some military training. And so it's going to be interesting to see if he ever surfaces or if he has the Cheadle protection. But the reported break-in comes just one day after the campaign confirmed that Iranian group hacked in Eternal Communications in June. Blaze News previously reported as part of the breach, hackers released 271-page document that listed publicly available information about Vice President nominee J.D. Vance of Ohio. The document noted that Vance's previous criticisms of Trump, which were labeled as potential vulnerabilities, hackers also leaked for part of a familiar report regarding search of Senator Marco Rubio, who was also on Trump's top potential running mate list. Microsoft released a report Friday that claimed Iranian group, this one connected with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC, sent a spear phishing email in June to a high-ranking official on a presidential campaign. However, the report did not identify the targeted presidential campaign. Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung told Politico these documents were obtained illegally from foreign sources hostile to the United States and intended to interfere in the 2024 election. So, my friends, it's on like Donkey Kong. If you're breaking into candidates and presidential offices, I think you're going to see this happening. Now, the interesting thing is Elon Musk, before I jump into the Trump interview, Elon Musk said, "I'd be happy to host Kamala Harris." This is on Newsmax. And ex-owner Elon Musk, after his nearly 2-hour-long conversation with Trump, garnered over 71 million live viewers, and now is well over 100 million views, extended an invitation to nominee Democrat rival Kamala Harris to come into the platform and speak with him. After he ended his interview with Trump on Monday, Musk called on Harris to appear for an interview, saying he would be happy to host Kamala on X Space 2. The interview conducted on the X app Spaces featured Monday spanned several topics, including Trump's panning Harris on border crisis, over 3.5 years that the President Joe Biden failed and she was the czar. She was the border czar, and now she's trying to say she wasn't really involved. She also is totally in charge, Trump said. She could shut the border down. President Joe Biden wouldn't even know the difference. The Harris campaign has not responded to the invitation, but did not troll Musk and Trump in a real time during their social media conversation. At one point, Harris' team said Trump was slurring during his arguments on climate change because he wouldn't have more oceanfront property. So interesting there. So the offer is there, and you can go to Newsmax if you'd like to watch some more about that. And the offer from Elon Musk to have Harris, he's going to an equal opportunity. See, that's the thing that Elon Musk is doing as a wealthy person that you're not seeing people in his position. He is a proponent of free speech, and he's offering her free speech, even though she and her goons don't want free speech. Savvy? So anyway, speaking of Democrats, RFK Jr. is blocked from the New York ballot after a challenge from Democrat-aligned PAC. There was a fear until they made the switch that many Democrats were going to do a protest vote for Robert Kennedy, and those that couldn't stomach voting for Trump. Now that Kamala's on the scene, folks are probably doing a rethink. But they still see him as a danger, so this Democrat PAC issued a 34-page decision from the judge stating that the bedroom that Kennedy allegedly rents in Catoosa, New York, is not a bona fide and legitimate residence, but merely a sham address he assumed for the purpose of maintaining his voter registration. So anyway, they're giving Kennedy all this runaround, and so there's a chance Kennedy will not be on the ballot, but you can still write him in. He's become rather well known, and this is my suggestion to Donald Trump. He's got 3 debates. The ones that Harris refuses to come to, I would say, well, Kennedy, would you like to fill in? He's a Democrat. Let him, and I guarantee you it would put him in a huge, it would help Kennedy probably pick the Democrat Party completely in half. I think it'd be a great thing to do. If I were Trump, I would embrace a sit down with Kennedy maybe during the Democratic convention. Would that not be something to watch? But anyway, we'll see what happens. This is, again, an article in the Federalist, if you'd like to go and read it for yourself. RFK Jr. blocked from the New York ballot after challenge from Democratic-aligned PAC. And that's such a shame that they did that because, there's got to be some Democrats that would like just, hey, we would like to know what's going on. Let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, we got a little time here. Nope, better go to a break. I'll be back after the break.
WVMG Chattanooga. Do you love God and do you love America? If you do, you're going to love this radio show, the Macil Duncan Radio Show, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. right here at Destiny Life Media 96.9 FM. You can also hear the show live and archives of the show at streetlevelamerica.com and usaheartbeat.com. Also hear it at macilduncanradio.com, Rumble, X, Truth Social, Facebook, and more. And we're working on growing the show nationwide. The Patriot Pastor of Appleton Baptist Church, he is Macil Duncan on the Macil Duncan Radio Show. We are growing better together all the time. Those are the words of Dr. Steve Ball of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. One of the ways that they grow is with life groups. It's very important for you to get connected in a small group so you can develop relationships and hold each other accountable. Dr. Ball says they believe that Metro Tab is growing larger and smaller at the same time. Life groups are an important part in developing relationships with others who share your interests and are dealing with similar life issues. Why don't you get connected? Check out life groups and the many other offerings at Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They want to be involved in your life. The address is 2101 West Shepherd Road, just off Highway 153 at the airport exit. It is time for the Church of Jesus Christ to roar. That is one of the core principles of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Their mission is to restore the roar in the body of Christ by establishing a foundation of faith in the Word of God through the power and demonstration of His Holy Spirit. They will reclaim the original intent of God for the church through training, equipping, releasing believers, and raising up leaders who will carry the roar of the Lion of the tribe of Judah to build strong local churches. And we all need that. You can find out more information by going to their website, myroar.org. Metro Tabernacle Church is located at 2101 West Shepherd Road, at the airport exit off of Highway 153 in Chattanooga. Let's roar.
Former Democratic U.S. Representative and Army Reserve Officer Tulsi Gabbard is taking legal action against the Biden administration for reportedly putting her on a terrorist watch list.
My own government, my president, my commander-in-chief is targeting me as a potential domestic terrorist. The closest word that comes to mind is a complete sense of betrayal.
Gabbard said she learned of being on the Quiet Skies watch list, a TSA program monitoring elevated risks to aviation security, from two TSA whistleblowers following an appearance on Fox News. In an interview with Laura Ingraham, Gabbard criticized U.S. intervention in Ukraine, calling it a proxy war. Afterwards, she said she began to be more subject to more frequent and tedious searches. The whistleblowers reportedly acknowledge Gabbard is being trailed by agents, but the reason is still unclear.
Of course, there's no explanation given, which is why we are taking legal recourse.
Gabbard believes her criticism of the Biden administration may be the reason.
Obviously, I've been very outspoken about the dangers of the Biden-Harris administration to our democracy and to our freedom and to our national security. And this is what happens as a result.
The revelations have also sparked outrage among Hawaii lawmakers, the state Gabbard represented in Congress. 4 state representatives sent a letter to the TSA demanding answers and calling the move harassment. Reports say several agents and 2 explosive detection canine teams followed Gabbard and her husband in the airport last month.
That's rather interesting, is it not? So someone that leaned far left, and matter of fact, she was a Bernie Sanders fan. If she leaned that far left, there's a good chance her and Kamala may have shared some similar views. Because, you know, Tulsi was very left-leaning. To be a Bernie Sanders fan, you pretty much were definitely pro-choice. You definitely were in a lot of these camps embracing homosexual marriages, transgenderism, etc. So for her to have swung back away from that and swing back into the Trump camp, if you will, Tulsi Gabbard was actually supposedly on a short list or a consideration list for VP. There were many of us that thought she would help bring more people to the middle. So I think it's rather interesting that there must be something in mind. I bet you Trump has her in mind for a high cabinet position for them to go after her like this. They're trying to muddy the water. Now, you mark my words, someone else they're going to go after is Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton, who is the Attorney General for the state of Texas. They're afraid because of Donald Trump, who I would put in charge, a U.S. district attorney. I'd say, hey, go clean up Dodge. Good, bad, or indifferent. Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, if they broke the law and they're egregious, go after them. If it's ignorance, that's one thing. But if it's egregious, go after them. Ken Paxton is a bulldog, and the GOP went after one of their own. That's going to make him the perfect attorney general because he knows, hey, my own party turned on me. They're afraid of someone of integrity and truth. At least they were in Texas. So interesting stuff. So what's going on here with Elon Musk and what's going on with this interview? A lot of folks have been talking about it. There's a lot of good, bad, and ugly being said. But all I can say is I listened to it. 71 million viewers. And Elon Musk AI won't replace jobs. Jobs will create new ones. I thought you could hear this before we get to the interview. See what you think of this.
Most likely outcome for artificial intelligence is that it is good, that it will improve our lives, most likely. But there's some chance that it will not, and I think we just need to be cognizant of that and understand that it's a powerful technology, it's a double-edged sword, and we need to put a lot of effort into ensuring that we have a good AI outcome and not a bad one.
What does a good one look like?
Well, I'd recommend people read the Ian Banks books.
Okay.
This is interesting because I'm very leery and hesitant of AI, but he's making some good points. And as one of the builders, maybe that's his job to calm fears. But see what you think.
The culture books, that's the best representation of a positive AI human future that I've seen.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation. I mean, effectively AI, I think it will massively enhance human ability. It's like just a massive amplifier of human ability, just like the computer was. So really, it's just a question of like, does it? There's some risk that it doesn't merely amplify human activity, but it starts basically just being in charge.
Yeah.
And there's some risk it may view humanity negatively and decide that we're a blight on the earth. Like I think like a very dangerous thing would be if the sort of human extinctionist philosophy somehow got into AI, that would be bad. Like that guy that
human extinction philosophy got inside of AI, that could be bad. Well, that's one of the things I brought up yesterday, that some folks were concerned about the AI. And this was an interview with one of the humanoids. It's actually an actual robot that's made to look like a human. And here is the discussion. See what you think.
Nightmare scenario you can imagine with AI and robotics.
What can you imagine the worst case scenario between...
What would be the most nightmare scenario?
What would be the most nightmare scenario? They're asking the humanoid. Here, it's got a human face. Okay, I'm trying to make sure, because there's a lot of noise. Make sure you can hear that.
What would be the most nightmare scenario you can imagine with AI and robotics that might present a danger to people?
Okay, here's the answer from the humanoid.
The most nightmare scenario I can imagine with AI and robotics is a world where robots have become so powerful that they are able to control or manipulate humans without their knowledge.
So going back to the Elon interview, he's acting like that can only happen if we put that into the AI's mind frame or we bring those discussions in. Well, don't forget about free speech, Elon. How we, if we're going to talk about it, the computers right now are monitoring everything we say. All my shows right now, there's somebody at the NSA, somebody at the FBI, there's someone assigned to people like me to make sure I'm not some crazy person trying to go against the America, at least in their view, I guess. But everything is being recorded. Every picture you've ever taken, they call it the cloud. It's been saved. So be careful, especially if you take some private stuff. Don't think for a second Snapchat or one of these that say it erases in a few minutes, it's going to go away. That's not the case. But Elon Musk, AI will replace all human jobs. Here's an interview. See what you think.
Or kind of observation be on AI and the impact on labor markets and people's jobs and how they should feel about that as they think about this?
Well, I think we are seeing the most disruptive force in history here. Where we have for the first time, we will have for the first time something that is smarter than the smartest human. And that, it's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed.
There will come a point where no job is needed. This is Elon Musk. See if you hear this.
It's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed.
Meaning that AI, humanoids, etc. Does that make sense then why Bill Gates keeps saying we need to depopulate the world? We don't need humans anymore? We're going to control the world through AI and robotics? Interesting.
WVMG Chattanooga. It is time for Christians to roar, to make a difference in the community. That is the belief of Metro Tabernacle Church and Dr. Steve Ball. They have the School of Roar. The School of Roar is hosting a summer 2024 The Prophetic. Classes open to everyone and registration is free. Do you want to learn how to work more in the prophetic? Attend one of the class schedules. Registration deadline June 2nd. There will be a class Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30 p.m. and one again July 16th at 6:30 p.m. You can register at the website metrotab.net or myroar.org. That is myroar.org. It is time for the church to roar. 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan from Nashville, funds the National Education Order 108447 in 1959 that declared Constitution Day in public schools, and that's something we sorely need. More than 1 million kids last year got a free copy of the Constitution, and this year's goal is 2 million kids. Imagine that. The Constitution in the hands of 2 million American kids. On September 17th, all public schools are to distribute and educate students on the Constitution of the United States. If you'd like to help out, 917, that's 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan of Nashville, Tennessee. And remember, the goal this year, 2 million copies of the Constitution in kids' hands. And you can help. Again, the website, 917society.com. Jesus said, "You do it unto the least of these, and it's as if you were doing it unto me." There are many hungry people in our communities. The Appleton Food Bank feeds over 3,000 people every month, and they could use your prayers. In these troubling times, the number of clients they are serving is increasing. You can make a donation today. Go online to appisonbaptist.com. appisonbaptist.com. Food drives, prayers, financial donations, all help. They have rented 2 old grocery stores. They're open 7 days a week for donations, and they distribute every Monday and Friday. The motto at Appleton Baptist Church is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. And you can get involved and help feed the hungry. Go to the website, appisonbaptist.com.
This is Mr. Red, White, and Blue, and I am back. And you got to ask yourself sometime, what planet are they from?
Kamala Harris has yet to hold a press conference. She's been in this now 21 days. She has yet to do a single interview. Why is that? And is that going to change?
21 days, Jonathan.
3 weeks.
Started running for president. Before that, she did tons of interviews. She's done interviews with you. She's done interviews. I'm sure she's going to do interviews. Before that, she did tons of interviews.
In my opinion, that sucked.
She used to. That's a stupid answer. She used to do interviews.
So, Georgia, it is so good to be back.
So it is so good to be back in Michigan.
And I am very clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state.
Now, she repeats this in every state that she speaks at. I want you to listen to this speech. It's the same one. Now, I know Donald Trump says a lot of the same things, but to go to each state and tell them, Detroit, Michigan, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, hey, the path to victory is through this state. That sounds a little too rehearsed.
Back in Michigan.
And I am very clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state.
So listen, let me tell you, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state.
The path to the White House goes through Wisconsin.
In those roles,
So in those roles,
in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds. I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds. I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
Predators
Who abused women.
fraudsters who scammed consumers, cheaters.
Who broke the rules for their own gain.
So hear me when I say. So hear me, Detroit, when I say.
So hear me when I say. I know Donald Trump's type.
I know Donald Trump's type. I know Donald Trump's type. I know Donald Trump's type.
I know Donald Trump's type.
I know Donald Trump's type. And are we ready to fight for it?
And are we ready to fight for it?
And are we ready to fight for it? Are we ready to fight for it? And are we willing to fight for it? And are we ready to fight for it?
When we fight.
When we fight. When we fight. When we fight. And when we fight. And when we fight, we win! God bless you!
Do you remember Jill Biden would say that and try to get the crowd to repeat after her? So this is interesting. Kamala Walla is, they all do that. They rehearse the thing, but she knows Donald Trump's type, and you got to ask yourself, the knee pad comes to mind.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will officially go head-to-head on the debate stage in prime time on September 10th. But right now, Donald Trump says he's ready to get even more debates on the books. He's agreed to 2 additional face-offs in the month of September with Harris. But will she accept?
Are you open to more debate?
I am happy to have that conversation about an additional debate for after September 10th, for sure.
He proposed 2 more debates.
Like I said, happy to have that conversation.
Mark, is wanting more debates an acknowledgement by Trump he needs them? A strategy, believing she'll say no, so he's able to brand her as scared? What's your read on this?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's clear that Donald Trump now recognizes that his campaign is in a free fall. It's clear that Donald Trump now recognizes that his campaign is in a free fall.
Oh, really?
With some very interesting
Here we
findings.
go.
Here we go.
Here we go. The
Listen up.
CNBC All-America Economic Survey finds former President Donald Trump holding a commanding lead among voters on key economic issues.
This came out Monday, by the way.
Trump led Biden by 45 to 43 in the July NBC News survey. The CNBC August poll finds Trump leading Harris by 48, 46, or the same 2 points, and within the poll's 3.1% margin of error.
This is CNBC, super duper lip lock liberal, admitting Donald Trump is leading her 48-46. Now that's with their skewed tabulation. I bet it's closer to 54, maybe 36. But anyway.
Think about that.
Donald Trump leads Kamala Harris among Gen Z voters in new poll.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
Trump gets support, and a lot of it, on crime and safety, immigration and border security, and taxes. The two are tied just about on Social Security.
That his campaign is in a free fall.
picture of Donald Trump pose.
No, you stay here. I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
My God.
To the Democrats, I say, be careful what you wish for.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. They are stupid. They are stupid.
So I think that's going to make its way into a couple more campaign videos. But this, again, is amazing what's going on. And will you be one of those that says, hey, I listen to facts and figures, or do I let some tribal mouthpiece in my news source that I like going to create my values and my viewpoints? It's really up to you. Here's some more.
It's time to build back better. I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Now, with Trump attempting to return to the White House, Biden is sounding the alarm in a way sitting presidents rarely, if ever, do.
The stakes are that high to you? I give you my word. I think they're that high. Mark my words. If he wins this this election, watch what happens. It's a danger. He's a genuine danger to American security.
Bruh. Wait a minute.
I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And mark my words. If he wins this this election, watch what happens. It's a danger. He's a genuine danger to American security.
These people make me sick. Lower the temperature in our politics.
So, talking out of both sides of your mouth, Captain Joe. And just interesting thing is the Gateway Pundit has Joe Biden throws Kamala Harris under the bus and says she is also responsible for current dumpster fire economy as she desperately tries to distance herself from his policy and his attachment. Joe Biden on Tuesday stopped to chat with reporters on the south lawn of the White House, something she's not doing. And Biden is traveling to Louisiana to deliver remarks at Cancer Moonshot event. He's going to cure cancer, just ask him. After hiding from public, Biden shuffled out of the White House and took 4 questions. One reporter asked Biden if he would attend a Trump inauguration. I have good manners, not like him, said Biden. Another reporter asked Biden about his latest threat to Trump and whether calling him a danger to an American security. That's a statement of fact, he said. And then Biden responded to criticism from Team Trump about Kamala Harris being more liberal than Biden. Joe Biden threw Kamala Harris under the bus and said she is also responsible for the current dumpster fire economy. The issues that we've worked on together have made great progress economically, said Biden. She's a part of Bidenomics. There is no process economically. Americans are suffering from crippling inflation thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I'll be back.
Stand on
WVMG Chattanooga. You know, there is someone hungry in your world tonight. So as you're seated tonight at your dinner table, enjoying the mashed potato and steak off the barbecue grill, remember that there are many people in our communities, in our world, that are not as fortunate as you are. So please consider donating your time, funds, and food to your local food bank or food pantry. And as you enjoy the barbecue tonight, please remember them. Check on the widows, elderly, and the orphans as well. You can donate in the Appleton, Tennessee area to Appleton Baptist Church. They have a food pantry there that would love your support. And there are many food pantries all over America. We need to feed this nation in more ways than one, but one way that we can literally feed them is with food. Get involved and make a difference. Do you love God and do you love America? If you do, you're going to love this radio show, the Macil Duncan Radio Show, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. right here at Destiny Life Media 96.9 FM. You can also hear the show live and archives of the show at streetlevelamerica.com and usaheartbeat.com. Also hear it at MacilDuncanRadio.com, Rumble, X, Truth Social, Facebook, and more. And we're working on growing the show nationwide. The Patriot Pastor of Appleton Baptist Church, he is Macil Duncan on the Macil Duncan Radio Show. We are growing better together all the time. Those are the words of Dr. Steve Ball of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. One of the ways that they grow is with life groups. It's very important for you to get connected in a small group so you can develop relationships and hold each other accountable. Dr. Ball says they believe that Metro Tab is growing larger and smaller at the same time. Life groups are an important part in developing relationships with others who share your interests and are dealing with similar life issues. Why don't you get connected? Check out life groups and the many other offerings at Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They want to be involved in your life. The address is 2101 West Shepherd Road, just off Highway 153 at the airport exit.
Welcome back, my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and welcome to the Macil Duncan Radio Show, broadcast live here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. MacilDuncanRadio.com can connect you to usaheartbeat.com, streetlevelamerica.com, DestinyLifeMedia.com, SGM in Alabama, the New Jersey Freedom Network, Tennessee Conservative Platform, God and Politics, and the Revolver Media in Indiana. Thanks for all these platforms that carry the show, not to mention the Facebook, the Instagrams, Rumble, X, etc. Thank you guys for being a part of the show. We've got kind of a sad story. Those in Chattanooga, you may have heard, there is a pastor that's been indicted for a scandal, if you will. Pastor, former UTC basketball star in COVID paycheck fraud. You can go to the Chattanooga Times-Free Press and get the skinny, but the bottom line is a Chattanooga pastor and former UTC basketball star is accused of defrauding a pandemic employment assistance program. They're saying that Taylor allegedly received $1.8 million in loans from the federal Paycheck Protection Program and fudged about how many employees he had, kept a lot of money for himself, and as you read, he's going to face felony charges, and the lowest thing he'll do is pay back $900,000. Taylor is also charged with committing tax fraud. In 2021, he filed with an income of around $72,000. That did not account for the $1.8 million he received from the program. So Chattanooga, keep that pastor in your prayers and the ministries he represents. Let him have his day in court, but it's rather interesting. There's also a CNN report. You may find this interesting, you may not, But Home Depot says consumers are feeling crummy about the economy and they're not doing as many home renovation projects. Home Depot is predicting that we're going to have problems for the next several months. And he said during the quarter, higher interest rates and greater macroeconomic uncertainty has pressured consumer demand more broadly, resulting in a weaker spend across home improvement projects. So that was from Home Depot. You can find that article in CNN and on their webpage if you'd like. Found that interesting because a lot of folks today are probably saying, listen, I've got to put some things on hold. And speaking of something on hold, ladies, check this out. The Associated Press has said there's a dentist charged with invasion of privacy. And I can only imagine this is going to shock you. But evidently a dentist was charged with invasion of privacy after a camera was found in the employee bathroom, police said. A West Virginia dentist faces charges after police said a concealed camera allegedly was found in his office employee bathroom, and lots of things were downloaded and etc. So I guess check for cameras in the bathroom. Associated Press doesn't always bring the best of news, but I thought that was interesting. And Gateway Pundit says Joe Biden throws Kamala Harris under the bus after she also, he said, is responsible for Bidenomics. She's trying to distance herself, but he did an interview on the South Lawn touting how she was such a big part of his policies. Is this a little revenge from Joe? We don't know. But it's interesting that he's feeling a need to say this at this time. I think some folks are wondering when he'll speak because there's bad blood between him and Nancy Pelosi. If you remember, she put out the statement, Joe, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. A week later, he gets COVID, and then it's announced by a piece of paper he's stepping down from the race, and it did not have presidential or the White House letterhead. And so a lot of folks feel he was forced out, and he's still having a tough time with that. We'll see. Well, Kamala Harris is reflecting back to the tie-breaking vote to let IRS trackers workers on the tips tax. She's now trying to say she's adopting Donald Trump's plan for taking tax off tips, but she actually passed the tie-breaking vote that Biden put the taxes on the tips. What a flip-flopper woo here. Let's check this out. Harris has zero policies on her campaign website because the majority of the American people are unhappy with crippling inflation and open borders thanks to the Biden-Harris regime. What the fake news media is not reporting is that Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to let the IRS track workers and tips to be taxed. 2 years ago today, I proudly cast my tie-breaking vote to pass our Inflation Reduction Act, Kamala Harris boasted last weekend on Facebook, forgetting that act also taxed tips. It also allowed for 80,000 new IRS agents and all these other things that tipped workers and 600 Venmo payments. Do you remember that? So all these things that are in that vote that she brags that she passed, the Inflation Reduction Act. Just look it up, do your own research, see what you think. It could be interesting. And as I mentioned, Trump-Musk interview, what you need to know and what you missed. Over 73 million now, it's reported, watched it live. It's now got over 100 million views, and it's ticking upward. The Daily Wire says former President Donald Trump and ex-owner Elon Musk discussed a range of issues for 2 hours, and Musk's social media platform on Monday night drawing over 1 million listeners. It's well over 1 million. 73 million actually watched it live. So I guess whoever wrote this article is a little off. Dinesh D'Souza actually just put out the 73 million count, and Dinesh is pretty accurate. After initially crashing due to what Musk described as a massive DDoS attack, the virtual fireside chat finally started around 8:30 p.m. There was evidently 5 to 6 attacks to stop this interview with hackers. So that's sad. It started 30 minutes late, but Trump described July 13 assassination attempt, and that's when Elon Musk said, that's when I decided to endorse you. I wasn't going to endorse a candidate, as I said, but when I saw you stand and say, fight, 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 to have courage under fire, he goes, that's a leader, and that's what I want leading this nation. That's gold. For Elon to say that, that is gold. And Trump hammers a home message on economy and inflation. Musk and Trump talk at length about the immigration and energy policy. If you watch the 2-hour long debate and you only have an hour, skip to hour 2. That is actually things you probably haven't heard Trump said. The first hour, it's some redundancy. It's things that he's done. He got a little defensive about him being attacked, and rightfully so. If I was being sued, impeached twice, everyone's picking on me. When I get a free microphone, I might find a need to vindicate. But I wish he had let Elon speak more in that front hour. But the second hour, he does. And the second hour, they talk about energy and some things maybe you didn't know. Here's 3 things I picked up that I did not know. 1, he talked about Elon Musk having tunnels, the ability to make tunnels. And I know at first people are saying, those underground cities. But what he's referring to was the tunnels for maybe super trains that can connect states. He said much like in China, they have these super fast trains, and people could literally go, coast to coast in underground tunnels. Don't know. Also, Trump let it slip that there are cities with a dome, much like Israel has the dome that protects it from Israel. He says there's cities that many don't know of that have this same protection. Many say that D.C. has that protection, that if D.C. was bombed, there is a dome of protection. Don't know. Was that there is a... wow, we just had a power outage, and let's see if I'm still on the air. He said that there is that the AIs take twice as much energy, artificial intelligence does. So that's interesting. So the AI takes twice as much energy as the current energy we have now. So Donald Trump was explaining that if we're going to have this green energy that they're saying, for them to make AI, the humanoids and the things we talked about yesterday, feasible, they're going to have twice as much energy. Think about this. What if everyone had an electric car? You go to bed at night, you charge your car, your phone, your laptop, etc. That's going to make it almost impossible for you to, to be able to function. So I think it's interesting that there's some people not understanding that, because they don't seem to do the common sense, if you will, of the green energy reality. That's where, if you listen to the last hour, it's very interesting, and Donald Trump brings up for AI and the humanoids and the interlink chips that go into the brain, for all that to happen, we'll have to have twice as much energy as we have now, and Elon Musk did not disagree. So that means what Donald Trump is saying, and I think Elon Musk is echoing, why can't we have both? If they really want some of these things to happen, they're going to have to allow, green energy to progress, but not do away with fossil fuels like they want to do out in California. See, if they can get you and I to quit driving our cars and to go with electric vehicles, 2 things can happen. 1, they could limit your travel based on your economy. It keeps poor people in cities, and it keeps middle class people pretty much just barely above poor, and you won't be able to travel far because as you know, you can't find charging stations. You'll have to take longer on your trips to charge your car, and it means more lodging, more food, etc. So vacations would be probably double what they are now. The second thing is by getting rid of fossil fuels, they can turn around and use that. And they're not telling you this, to make their batteries, to make all their AI stuff possible and functional. Donald Trump brought out some brilliant things. If you try to listen to the interview just to be combative, you're not going to pick up on this. I try to listen to learn, and that's what I thought was interesting. So I encourage you to consider that in your looking. Before we get to that, I wanted to remind you of Ronald Reagan, who was a great president, and he had this to say.
Told that any public policy approach incorporating traditional values is out of bounds. This is a matter that transcends partisan politics and demands the attention of every American regardless of party. If we have come to a time in the United States when the attempt to see traditional moral values reflected in public policy leaves one open to irresponsible charges, then the structure of our free society is under attack and the foundation of our freedom is threatened.
Ronald Reagan was completely right. He's one of the most courageous presidents of our great nation. He spoke against what we're experiencing today. Reagan questioned the nature of America's society to fight against traditional values, so much so as to ban and block the mention of God in public institutions. Yet, people were free to preach atheism.
Under the pretense of separation of church and state, religious beliefs cannot be advocated in many of our public institutions, but atheism can.
Reagan knew this wasn't right, and he was very vocal about it. This problem has persisted now, over 35 years since the Reagan administration. We see people openly flaunt paganism, not just in America, but in Europe as well. We see people speak ill of God and Jesus Christ, and yet whenever people stand up to speak for God, they're shunned or ostracized by society. Jesus did say this would happen, so I understand. But it's up to each and every one of us to never ever stop speaking for what's right.
And that's interesting that Ronald Reagan said those words in what we're dealing with now. And as you guys know, some of you send me some interesting songs. And
Introducing Zaxby.
This is a good one I think you'll like. It's called Are We Left or Are We Right? Pretty cool.
Polite and smart and punctual, it once was good to be. You answered for your actions, and a woman was a she. You'd stand up for your people, if needs be, even fight. But now, if you uphold such values, then you are far right. We're all far right now, we're all far right now. Peterson, Rogan, Shapiro, E-I-E-I-E-I-O. We worship Mussolini, his portrait's in the loft. Must say Twitter, hi or Hitler, we're all far right now. Oh, you say you're in the middle, a moderate individual, a Gladstonian liberal. You once laughed at Donald Trump, you're probably a fascist too. There once was a great speaker called Martin Luther King. Said character's what matters, not the colour of your skin. But conduct doesn't count now, just your identity. If you should ever question this, you're racist, obviously. We're all racist now, we're all racist now. Off to the gallows we must go, E-I-E-I-E-I-O. Worse than Winston Churchill, worse than Enoch Powell, Ku Klux Klan and Jimmy Fallon. We're all racist now. Oh, the countryside is racist, dogs and cats are racist, eating meat is racist, Black Lives Matter's even racist. Do you know what's also racist? You.
Anyway, you guys keep these funny songs coming. I thought that was interesting, but you know, as you start looking at some of this and you start seeing where people are at, some folks are like, "Hey, and this guy says I'm a black Donald Trump, and this is his song a man of color saying, "I'm voting for the felon." I thought you might enjoy just a few minutes of this.
I love this land from sea to shining sea. Sea to shining sea. It's America, the home of the brave, land of the free. The land of the free. They say we're divided, but we all stand tall. I'm casting my vote. Hear freedom call. Hear freedom call. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon.
You can go watch that Black Donald Trump felon. So there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of minutia, pro and con, and there's some funny songs that make fun of both of the candidates, and we won't go into all that.
Believe it or not, baby. At University of Phoenix.
Oh, there we go. There we stopped it. Some of these don't want to stop when you push the old clickaroo. Well, I told you we wanted to talk a little bit about the discussion last night between Elon and Donald Trump. Here's what Sky News had to say about it.
To the US now, where Elon Musk has had an interview with Donald Trump on his platform X. This was literally a live phone conversation that everybody in the world got to listen into. But it was a bit late going to air on X because they had a massive cyber attack against their servers. Someone didn't want this conversation going live. Here's Elon Musk explaining at the very beginning of the call why it was a bit late. Sorry, guys.
We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. As this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say.
The combined views and subsequent conversations following that phone conversation that everyone could listen into already has over 1 billion impressions on X. Far-reaching reach that obviously someone didn't want these guys to have. Here's a reporter prior to this conversation asking the White House press secretary, this conversation's going to take place. We're worried about misinformation, disinformation by two of the most powerful men on earth. What are you guys going to do about it? Are you going to do anything about this?
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's an America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that?
You've heard us talk about this many times from here, about the responsibilities that social media platforms have.
How scared are these people of a simple conversation between two men that we can all listen into? I mean, do me a favor. European Commissioner Terry Breton literally took to X prior to the conversation to warn everyone. He said, with great audience comes greater responsibility, as there is a risk of amplification of potentially harmful content in connection with events with a major audience around the world. I sent this letter to Elon Musk, and there was this letter, the size of a Gutenberg Bible, expressing his concerns over what may or may not be discussed during this conversation. Elon Musk quickly tweeted this meme from Tropic Thunder. He said, this is what I really wanted to say back to Terry Breton.
So bottom line is, before the interview, it was announced, I guess, almost a week ahead, they tried to use the White House, the FCC, to try to shut it down. And you're going, why are they so afraid of a free Donald Trump, Elon Musk conversation? And the breakdown, which is crazy.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself.
Donald Trump finding a new ally this election, billionaire Elon Musk. The two men are set to appear on the platform formerly known as Twitter, now X, later tonight for what Musk is promising will be a, quote, unscripted and no limits conversation. Trump is now getting used to the fact that Musk endorsed him shortly after the assassination attempt, even though he's been critical of SpaceX and the Tesla CEO in the past.
And I'm for electric cars. I have to be, you know, because Elon endorsed me very strongly, Elon. So I have no choice.
Musk's rise as a Trump backer comes as X has turned into a haven for the spread of misinformation since X has turned into a haven for the spread of
Misinformation.
You must be joking.
Here are 18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset. Max Boot is a columnist for The Washington Post, a senior fellow for the Council on Foreign Relations, and a CNN global affairs analyst.
Now, listen to this CNN stooge. They're calling X a misinformation, and that's all CNN does. It's the crap news network.
18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset. How many years in journalism have you been? How many years?
Many years.
Many years. Did you ever think you'd be writing this piece?
No. I mean, this is like something out of the Manchurian Candidate or the Americans. I mean, this is the realm of spy fiction becoming reality. It would have seemed bonkers until Trump, but it's not bonkers anymore.
X has turned into a haven for the spread of misinformation.
CNN reported on Friday that U.S. authorities are seeing if those emails we just talked about are connected to an ongoing Russian disinformation effort. I mean, for all we know, these emails are made up, or maybe some are real and others are fakes. We don't know. But we do know that this is a classic example of the right-wing media machine.
The various shots that people are getting now cover that. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Yeah. And please show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
The Secret Service rushed Trump off stage after he falls at rally. He didn't fall at the rally. He was shot at. CNN first reported, if you remember, that Trump fell. They didn't want to mention that he was shot. And that was the first event in 2 years CNN was at with live cameras. Tell me, how did they know there might be an incident? CNN connected with FBI? DOJ, they always show up. Roger Stone, 4 o'clock in the morning raid. The CNN always seems to know when something just might happen with their FBI pals.
X has turned into a haven for the spread of misinformation.
Here we go! Ashley Ellison and Scott Jennings are back with us for some more analysis. Scott,
this is Wolf Blitzer from CNN.
When Trump has been promoting a right-wing conspiracy theory about Harris's crowds, is it a good idea for him to do an interview with someone known to traffic in misinformation? Serious questions tonight about whether the Russians are using Rudy Giuliani to...
This is Wolf Blitzer, October 16, 2020, when he obviously was saying lies. Check out. This is Wolf Blitzer, October 16, 2020.
Questions tonight about whether the Russians are using Rudy Giuliani to interfere in the U.S. presidential election.
Like Dizzy Gillespie. So that was the CNN meltdown, and it was rather silly. And you got to ask yourself, why are they so worried about Elon Musk and Donald Trump having a sit-down talk? Doesn't make sense, does it?
I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, "You want to quit?" They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But you know, if you look at Argentina.
Well, I'd be happy to help
By the way,
out.
congratulations.
Yeah.
I just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat. But congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. You know, the new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big,
Malay's
he's
awesome.
he's great. And he's a big MAGA fan, you know that. He ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme, too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought over, but he's doing a big job. He really cut. And I'm hearing they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. You know, they had like 2,000%.
exactly.
They had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to have that pretty soon. We have, I think we have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years. I don't believe it. I think we have the worst. They don't include a lot of the items that should be included, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money effectively, and having just like so many departments you can't even name them all, and what Milei is doing is he's cutting government spending, he's simplifying things, he's putting in regulations that make sense, and Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement in prosperity, but it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world, in the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be complacent in the United States in thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy, we can run the country into the ground. And that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Don't miss out. Follow One India for real-time updates.
We're back. That was a clip from the Elon Musk and the Trump conversation. Now, the thing that I think is interesting about this is they bring up so many topics, and it's 2 hours. If you go listen to it, as I said, if you only have 1 hour,
You are the path to prosperity.
check out the second hour. Here's part of the second hour.
And that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself. But I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president, and I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
So there he is again, endorsing Donald Trump for president in the middle of this and saying we're in deep trouble if we don't. And here's part of the energy talk. See what you think.
To support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving and the economy would collapse. So it's, I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry. The world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries. Sure. And it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. I mean, you run out of oil and gas. It's not there. It's not infinite. And there is some risk. I think it's not, the risk is not as high as you know, a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2, you start getting headaches and nausea. And so we're now in the sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about roughly 2 parts per million per year. So I mean, it still gives us. So what it means is, like, we still have quite a bit of time, but so there's not, like, we don't need to rush, and we don't need to, like, you know, stop farmers from farming, or, you know, prevent people from having steaks, or basic stuff like that. Like you can leave the farm.
Did you hear? He said, "Leave the farmers alone." Listen to this.
Farmers alone.
I agree. How crazy is that?
It's, you know, I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry, and I, you know, and the world has a certain demand.
He said, "Don't vilify the oil and gas industry. Leave farmers alone." Elon Musk is saying things like you and I probably would say. This is what scares the media. He's going off script. He's not following their narratives. And he has one of the largest news agencies, if you want to call it that, with X, formerly Twitter. They're going bonkers because he is saying things that they don't want to say. It's very interesting. If you go listen to the second half of this debate with him and Donald Trump, because I believe what you're seeing is a lot of folks just starting to see, hey, this is what's going on, and some folks are seeing this. Hey, this is a threat. Here again is another take.
What's on the vice president's schedule today?
Well, she's traveling and talking to voters and getting her message out there to the American people, something that she's been doing from the very start of this campaign, and something that she certainly did when she was President Biden's running mate as vice president.
Oof.
But look, you just mentioned the speech she's going to be giving in
that's right. I was asking about today, and I don't think she's got any campaign events on the schedule today, does she?
Well, she and Governor Walz have been traveling across the country. They hit nearly every battleground state last week. On the campaign trail, they raised $36 million within the first 24 hours.
That's not what I'm asking you for.
They don't want to answer the question. And that's what I think they're afraid of. Donald Trump will answer any question. Newsmax went on record saying that he would be glad, Newsmax reporting, Elon Musk has invited Kamala Harris to have the same conversation like he had with Trump. She has yet to respond. So that's an interesting thing. Why would she not want to respond? You don't understand what makes people do what they do. But, you know, some people just feel a need to try to say things that maybe aren't true, or maybe are inflated out of reach. But this is her, even though she's not doing a press conference, this is Kamala at one of the airstrips.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will officially go head-to-head on the debate stage in prime time on September 10th. But right now, Donald Trump says he's ready to get even more debates on the books. He's agreed to 2 additional face-offs in the month of September with Harris. But will she accept?
Are you open to more debate?
I'm happy to have that conversation about an additional debate.
That's her key line. I'm happy to have that conversation. When they asked her if convicted felons in jail should be allowed to vote, she said, I would like to have that conversation. That's her little go-to line. Just listen to that in the near future. That's her little, I guess maybe her lawyer mind. I'd like to have that conversation. It's non-committal. It's a response, but it's just a misdirection. That's all it is. She's playing lawyer.
After September 10th, for sure.
He proposed 2 more debates.
Like I said, happy to have that conversation.
Mark.
And so that's what you're seeing here, is that she doesn't seem to have that opportunity. And so a lot of folks are sensing that there's a little bit of difference there in what is true and what is not true. But when you look at the actual the polls here in August, this is one of the liberal news stations showing Donald Trump still ahead.
Trump holding a commanding lead among voters on key economic issues. Trump led Biden by 45 to 43 in the July NBC News survey. The CNBC August poll finds Trump leading Harris by 48, 46, or the same 2 points, and within the poll's 3.1% margin of error.
That's CNBC. Boy, they hate to admit that stuff, don't they, when they know the truth is out there. Well, the other thing that's got a little bit of buzz going against Miss Kamala is she has actually done a news ad with a sheriff. The problem is the sheriff didn't give her permission, and he says she's lying out in California.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border.
So Kamala Harris trying to flip the script on her border record. And one sheriff that is in that ad is outraged as she uses his image to do so. Tulare County, California Sheriff Mike Boudreaux joins us now. So Sheriff, when you saw that ad and that she was representing you as an endorsement, what was your reaction?
Well, I can tell you here in California, we're ready for someone that's going to support law enforcement. Kamala Harris and law enforcement in California, we're very familiar with her and how she has done over the course of years as a senator and as a prosecutor and as the attorney general. And I can tell you that this ad is deceiving, to say the least. I remember this particular case where we did a drug cartel or a drug trafficking organization where we worked with DEA. And the issue was that in this particular situation, she showed up for a soundbite. She didn't shake anyone's hands, and she quickly left the briefing room. So for me in law enforcement to see my face and image along with my law enforcement counterparts being represented as standing alongside Kamala Harris was truly disheartening. We do not support Kamala Harris. She has a history of not supporting law enforcement. And I just wanted to come out and say that for me in Tulare County, the sheriff of Tulare County, looking out for victims, looking for someone who's going to support criminal justice and law enforcement, that is best represented by Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris.
Booyah. So you got a sheriff that is used in a campaign ad for Harris, who has come out and said, I don't give her permission. Not only that, I'm a sheriff in California, and I can tell you on the record what she's saying is not true. Her time as the attorney general for the state, and as a senator, she did not represent law and order like she's proclaiming. He said, but Donald Trump does. So I thought that was interesting. But if you get out of line against the Democratic Party and you are one of their own or former minions, this could be what happens.
Former Democratic U.S. Representative and Army Reserve Officer Tulsi Gabbard is taking legal action against the Biden administration for reportedly putting her on a terrorist watch list.
My own government, my president, my commander-in-chief is targeting me as a potential domestic terrorist. The closest word that comes to mind is a complete sense of betrayal.
Gabbard said she learned of being on the Quiet Skies watch list, a TSA program monitoring elevated risks to aviation security, from 2 TSA whistleblowers following an appearance on Fox News. In an interview with Laura Ingraham, Gabbard criticized U.S. intervention in Ukraine, calling it a proxy war. Afterwards, she said she began to be more subject to more frequent and tedious searches. The whistleblowers reportedly acknowledge Gabbard is being trailed by agents, but the reason is still unclear.
Of course, there's no explanation given, which is why we are taking legal recourse.
Gabbard believes her criticism of the Biden administration may be the reason.
And sure enough, whenever you stand against the Democrats, they send in their bullies, the FBI. CNN panel explodes after polls show Kamala Harris is actually losing to Trump and not winning like they've been spinning.
Donald Trump is more popular today than he was on August 13th in either 2020 or 2016. So the bottom line is, yes, Kamala Harris is doing better in the polls, but there's a long way to go. The polls can shift, and Donald Trump is more popular than he was at either 2016 or 2020 at this point.
In this video, Kamala Harris gets bad news when new polling data shows the true reality of her campaign. This is the Devori Darkins Show.
Margins. Take a look here. In 2016, the average poll in those states that I mentioned, those Great Lake battleground states, Trump was underestimated by 9 points on average at this point in 2016. How about 2020? It wasn't a one-off. Look at this. He was underestimated by 5 points on average. And of course, Kamala Harris's advantage in those New York Times Siena College polls were 4 points in each of these key battleground states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. The bottom line is this. If you have any idea, if you're a Kamala Harris fan and you want to rip open the champagne bottle, pop that cork, do not do it. Donald Trump is very much in this race. If we have a polling shift like we've seen in prior years from now until the final result, Donald Trump would actually win. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I am saying that he is very much in this ballgame based upon where he is right now, and compare that to where he was in prior years.
That's CNN. And the lady co-hosting is staring him down with very much vigor. She's not happy with what he's saying. Let's skip ahead.
We certainly heard the Harris campaign saying we have to keep fighting.
Absolutely.
This is definitely not over. All right. Let's talk about enthusiasm and how that translates actually. We are quite a ways out, again, 3 months about.
Yeah, you know, yesterday I was mentioning, you know, the enthusiasm for the Democratic ticket was up. Yeah. But that enthusiasm is not the same thing as going out to actually vote. And there's a different question, which essentially says, how certain are you actually going to go out and vote? And this is the top range. Almost certain to vote. Again, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. This is among registered voters. Look at this. Look at Kamala Harris now compared to where Joe Biden was back in May. In fact, 62% of Joe Biden voters said they were almost certain to turn out and vote. Now,
it's gone down.
It's actually gone down a little bit.
So Harris isn't climbing, but declining. Savvy? And this is CNN, the crapola news network that doesn't like to tell you the facts. They like to try to lie as much as possible. And that's rather interesting because then you have the pundit. Let's skip ahead. This is one of your favorites, the white-haired crazy man. See if you recognize his voice on CNN.
We should point out that they are all within the margin of error.
Anderson Cooper, who's also, if you check his birth rate, he's a Vanderbilt. Interesting story about the death of his brother. He went through Langley CIA training, and now he's on the news. Just saying.
Which range actually from 4 to 4.5 points. So they are still technically tied.
But, you know, they're still technically tied. No, they're not. Trump's winning. You guys can't say it. You can't say it. And that's what's funny. CNN is trying their best to do their I guess their word salad. Here's another part.
With young people, is there any data on that?
So what's interesting is that young voters and also ended up black voters didn't change all that much between where Biden was in Pennsylvania in July and where Harris is now.
Because Trump's winning in those categories. Trump's winning the Gen Z vote, and the black male vote is actually up 32% now in favor of Donald Trump. Now, if you take the black vote at all, Trump is up 27%. But in 2020, he only had 8%. If Donald Trump keeps a 27 to 30% of the black vote, the race is over. It's over. They don't want to tell you that. Why? Because it ruins their little narrative and their mind manipulation games. That's what they do. And a lot of folks just can't sit back and, you stay in your tribes too much. You allow your tribes to tell you what to think, who to love, and what to do. And you need to become somebody, that can think and say, now wait, what is real, what is false? So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that to you. If you're someone that likes to send money to people, you might listen to this. Evidently, a lot of money, millions of dollars, have been confiscated by the government.
FedEx delivers more than 3 billion packages a year. And what's inside the packages can be anything, like clothing, toys, food, even cash. However, a new class action lawsuit says not all the money in those FedEx packages is going to the rightful recipient. According to the Institute for Justice, the nonprofit libertarian law firm representing the plaintiffs, law enforcement and prosecutors are seizing millions of dollars a year in cash from these packages that are being sent through the FedEx Express World Hub in Indianapolis, where up to 99,000 packages are processed every hour. Authorities can seize these packages through civil asset forfeiture laws, where police can take property if it's suspected of being connected to a crime, even when no charges are filed. The Department of Justice says asset forfeiture is designed to deprive criminals of their proceeds of their crimes, to break the financial backbone of organized criminal syndicates and drug cartels.
Yeah, but the problem is when you're taking money without any proper procedure, any policeman or any federal officer can say, I think that's illegal, and they can take your money. So be wise when you ship money, gift cards, or checks, and make sure you're very wise with the recipient. Well, breaking news, Trump and Elon have broke 1 billion views on X. I kid you not. Here is an update.
This interview, do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you?
No, they could not.
It's pretty sad when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview.
Elon Musk's interview with President Trump hits 1 billion views, causing the media to have a meltdown. This is the DeVory Darkins.
1 billion views. Hello.
Like a bromance type of an interview where they're supporting each other. I think that Elon Musk will let Donald Trump speak all of the falsehoods and misinformation that he wants. I mean, he's not a journalist. It's not his job.
That's CNN calling Elon Musk not qualified, basically, because he's not a journalist. Oh, sure. He's just a zillionaire that knows how to make money, build things. He's not smart enough to handle an interview. Surely not.
Had to say in this clip.
And the fact that
Absolutely,
they can't
sure.
buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen, and it's a shame. And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot, and we discuss the border at great length. It's nice to have a forum like this where I can discuss something.
Yeah. A lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending, and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not sensible? Right. And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding.
Now, listen, these are two very rich guys saying you need to live within your means. Think about this. CNN and them are so upset, and all the media melting because of this. But 1 billion views right now. Reason why is because Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, Donald Trump, a self-made billionaire as well, they're saying, hey, we know how to make money. You don't spend more than you make. Okay? Silly. It's kind of like this. The first rule in digging a ditch is when you fall in the ditch, you stop digging. Savvy? You get out of the ditch. I love what they're talking about here, creating a commission that will help cut federal spending. Can you imagine? Now, Donald Trump mentions in the interview that when he first went into office, the first thing he had to deal with was Boeing. Boeing was trying to sell, and it was several billions of dollars for a do-over of the Air Force One and Air Force Two. And Trump says, I'm not signing that. This is overpriced. Again, showing his mental acuity in the financial world. He said, this is a markup. You're going to have to. And Boeing, I don't think, ever forgave him, because then they became the backers of Nikki Haley. And don't forget Boeing put her on not just their payroll, but she became their advocate. Don't forget Boeing makes more than airplanes. They're part of the military complex. Okay, they make some of those things that explode in the night at other people's places. So Boeing is not just an airplane. But Donald Trump got them to back off several $1 million before he would sign. So that's the kind of thing that these aristocrats and these folks in the swamp don't want. When someone comes up and says, "Wait a minute, how come a toilet seat costs $1,000? I can go down to Lowe's and get one for $20." Well, see, the reason that toilet seat costs $1,000 is because there's kickbacks to 3 senators and a congressman or 2 so that the bill could get through the whatever. See, that's where you've got to get to, too. I think you need to have line item vetoes for the president. You remember Trump brought that up, meaning when they add pork. Now, I've had this discussion with Senator Todd Gardenhire. He's a friend of mine. He said sometimes he has to vote no on a very good bill, but someone's attached some pork to it, some things he can't live with in his conscience. He goes, and some conservatives don't know that because they don't read just beyond the bill. The pork and the addendums that they add with it sometimes is worse than if you didn't pass the bill. Savvy? We need somebody to go in and help clean that up. I personally think you should not be allowed to add anything to a bill. When you bring a law or a bill, it should be self-sustaining. Whatever the issue is, let it be self-sustained so you can have straight up and down votes without all the bribery and all the shenanigans. That's just me. I know I'm not your average American, but I believe that there's some sense there, and I believe we could see some more change in the near future. But it's going to take a lot of us being wise. November 5th is coming up, and everyone needs to vote. Everyone needs to vote. I don't care if you vote for Kamala. Just vote. If everyone shows out and vote, what if we had 75% of the electorate show up? Folks that are eligible and legal to vote. They can't cheat that way on either side. Think about that, Democrat friend. If everyone just voted, get your friends to vote Democrat, Republican, get your folks to vote Republican, Libertarians, get your Libertarians, your Independents, everybody show up and vote. Use your Democratic right there. And what could happen? We could see a fair election. If we could get, because right now, if you don't know this, I'll tell it real quick. When Donald Trump ran in 2016, they were only used to 38% of the electorate actually voting. With that low turnout, below a subpar 50% of those eligible to vote, only 38% of those electorate, what that allowed is for cheating to happen. They could therefore manipulate the vote. When it gets closer, because Donald Trump got in the game, and he bumped it up to 42, 45%. He brought a whole new group of electorate into the electorate, folks that felt their vote didn't matter. Many folks in 2016 said they had never voted in a presidential election. Listen to Jason Whitlock, who is he's a man of color, a great sports caster. He said just a year ago, he's never voted in a presidential election, but he'll vote in this one. He's very conservative. And he was raised in a Democratic family, but he's voting for Trump because he believes values matter and votes matter. So just think, if Donald Trump can bring it from a 38 to a 42, 44%, in 2020, they're thinking that it was probably closer to a 48, 49% of the electorate. If you got 60 to 70%, I think it would be harder for them to cheat. That's just me. This is Macil Duncan. I hope you guys have a great night. I'll be back tomorrow. Pray about it, my friends. God bless and Godspeed.
love this land from sea to shining sea. It's America, the home of the brave, land of the free. They say we're divided, but we all stand tall. I'm casting my vote. Hear freedom call. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. President Trump. Under Joe Biden, we've been singing the wrong song. My people have suffered, it's been way too long. It's time for a change. We're breaking free from the chains of their false history. We've got a voice and we're making it known. This is our America, we're taking it home. They promised us hope, but delivered despair. Under Democrats, it's been unfair. We're saving America with freedom in our hands. No more division, united we stand.